106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
Illinois Nazis. I hate these guys. I bet you did not see that coming. Why? Because I couldn't find my sunglasses to do my Blues Brothers. Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis. But we've always got Harrison Ford, who also, as Indiana Jones, hates Nazis of every type, and will probably get struck by the YouTube algorithm for using that word. However, breaking story today, before I get into it, and we talk about, I guess we should use the word Yahtzees instead of the N word so that we don't get too many hits here. But anyway, I'm your host, Jerry Jones, Chicago Jones Vasilatos, and I'm welcoming you all to another Friday night edition of Chicago Corner, along with my co-host, Mr. Edward Heller. Edward, welcome.
Hello, and a happy National Donut Day and Pizza Friday to you all.
Donut Day and Pizza Friday. Who selects the dates for these holidays that you always have your finger on the button?
Well,
donut.
It's not like there's like a single person deciding that what all the food holidays are going to be. What typically happens is a lot of these holidays are based on events. I think this may be related to the Salvation Army, when they used to have the ladies that used to go and make donuts for the guys in the military.
Okay.
And then eventually they had I'm not sure if it's exactly this day that they decided to establish, but it's like the first Friday of the first week in June is National Donut Day.
I like the alignment with what inspired it. That makes more sense than just celebrating gluttony.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, look, you create a food, you can decide what day you want to celebrate it on. But yeah, so like for me, every Friday is Pizza Friday, or if every Tuesday is Taco Tuesday.
I think every other day is Pizza Day, aside from Taco Tuesday for you.
No, just getting slightly off toward the ditch here. The Taco Tuesday origin, I'm going to have to look that up, but my guess is it's actually based on just how elementary schools used to have certain days they would serve cafeterias.
Mystery Meat Day. Mystery Meat Day. Which was like Meatloaf, I think.
And so, at a certain point when everyone starts serving tacos on Tuesday, it just becomes a thing.
All right. I'm going to pull you out of the kitchen now, Ed.
Okay.
But I appreciate that update because it is interesting that we have certain days. And we always assume that specific days are aligned with greeting card companies that are creating holidays to sell cards and gifts and other garbage. But all right. So listen, as we teased at the top of the show, I don't want to go too far into the ditch. But before we get into it, let's see who's in the live chat. I see Uncle Warren, Extra Bolo. Welcome. I see Kathy Powers. I see Art Medina. Or do you say Medina? I say Medina. You say Medina.
Does he own a golf course? If not, it's Medina.
Art? Am I pronouncing it after all these years, buddy? Have I been pronouncing your last name right? I see Wear a Pilgrim, and that's it so far. I feel like the lady on remember when we grew up, WGN Channel 9, was it Romper Room? I see so and so with the magnifying glass. I forgot the lady's name, the teacher's name.
I don't remember if it's so long ago.
I know, we're dating ourselves.
We were tiny little humans when that show was on television.
Who knew what we would evolve and mutate into?
Yeah, nobody saw this coming, Jerry.
Mad Matt Chicago asks, Ed, have you ever veered and had Chinese on Friday? And before Ed answers, I haven't eaten yet. And I'm like, I got to order food because I know by the time the show's over with, no one's going to deliver. And my go-to is always pizza. But I'm like, I've had so much. I love pizza, but I'm tired of it. So I ordered Thai food. Speaking to Asian cuisine.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, Thai is good. I like Thai food. I like Asian food. Have I ever had Chinese food on a Friday? I'm sure. I can't remember when. If I haven't made it myself, I probably ordered from somewhere nearby. And very likely it was the Kung Pao chicken.
I've got chicken fried rice and steamed pot stickers coming from Greenleaf Thai. They will be delivering probably in about a half an hour, at which point Ed will take over and vamp while I just throw it in the kitchen so I can heat it and eat it later. But
yep, I'm looking forward to that.
Let's get to our first story. This is crazy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. We have Yahtzees, not in Illinois, but specifically Humboldt Park.
Yes.
Crazy.
Rhymes with Yahtzees.
Yes. And so I guess the individual at the center of this story, this is not the first time he's been on the radar. Now, Colin Boyle, I'm going to say Colin, because colon denotes something.
It's Colin.
It's Colin. All right. I knew a guy named Colin who insisted that his name be pronounced colon. And given the fact he proved himself to be a real asshole after some dealings with him, I'm like, yeah, you really chose the right pronunciation for your name, buddy.
That's how that works.
Back to Colin Boyle. We just heard two bang noises a few minutes ago, and a door to the building where the man was on the roof has been breached. We don't see any CPD or SWAT on the street near us here now, nor do we hear his manifestos and music. And there's a photograph here. I'm assuming
that's a breached entrance. It looks like a door. Looks like they knocked the chain off of the gate or whatever.
Yeah. So Colin updates us with, we just heard two more bangs. That was 3 hours ago. A neighbor saying he's the man's friend tried to speak to the man who has barricaded himself in the building on Chicago Avenue. SWAT was quick to apprehend him and move him from the scene before releasing him. Okay, I believe he's talking about the man, not the guy in the building. Wait, quick to apprehend him.
Oh, to apprehend the neighbor.
I think that's what they mean, yeah.
Okay, yes, he's clarifying. For clarification, they released the neighbor who tried to talk to the man barricaded inside the building. Still no update here on the scene as of an hour ago.
Now look at these pictures. These are pretty scary.
Yeah, that's SWAT.
That's an hour.
See, still no updates on my end. Okay, I got another thread from Spot News where they're taking stuff off of the Chicago scanner, which, by the way, is now still encrypted and on like a 30-minute delay.
And this is a perfect example of why it shouldn't be on that 30-minute delay, because we can't update what's going on. We're not that we're press or journalists, but anybody reporting the news has got to wait.
Yeah, and anyone actually asking in the press pool, next time you get a chance to ask Mayor Johnson, ask him why that's still in effect. That 30-minute delay is really, I mean, any number of cover-ups could be happening in that 30 minutes.
And I think that's why they insisted on it, given the COPA regulations or the COPA recommendations that we're still waiting on with the consent decree. Well, let's go to Block Club Chicago because they have a little bit more comprehensive coverage. So we'll bring that up. I guess I just want to have that image up while I read the updates. And then if there's anything else you see on Twitter after I get through these details about this guy's history, we can transition into that. But as reported by Colin Boyle and Trey Arlene on Block Club Chicago, man with gun, swastika flag, flamethrower, prompt SWAT team response in West Humboldt Park. Now, this was at 12:26 p.m. today. Police said they'd closed off a portion of Chicago Avenue near Pulaski Road, but they didn't immediately provide other details. I'm going to refresh this page and see if there are any updates. Hang on a second on my end here. No updates. All right. Now, here's the guy on the roof. Excuse me, with his weapon that looks like a that's not just a gun. That's I would imagine an assault rifle, looking at the handles on it and the size of it. But a man with
unless it's a super fancy nail gun and it just looks like but I don't think so.
I doubt that. For weeks, neighbors have complained of a swastika flag being hung on scaffolding on the roof of a building in the 4100th block of West Chicago Avenue, according to the Chicago Tribune. That must be great when they have block parties there. That must be the real center of attention. Or in this case, obviously, ire. The swastika flag was, you know what? I got to read this way as Grumpy Harrison. The swastika flag was up again Friday morning when police responded to the scene of a man on the roof with a gun, a flamethrower, and other weapons. Police closed off a portion of Chicago Avenue near Pulaski Road, where the man could be heard either saying or playing a recording saying, "F you, Chicago police, I'm going to kill you," while blasting audio with the words "F you" and a recording of "Eye of the Tiger." Now, that really sucks because that's Sly Stallone's signature song, and Nazis don't have any right appropriating that for any kind of a statement that they want to make, I think.
Yeah, and I think Jim Peterick would have a few words to say about that as well, as he is an Illinois native. I believe he lives in the Chicago area still.
Ah. Can you scroll down to the next picture of this knuckle?
Yeah, I was in the middle of looking for another thread. I found another thread that's a little more updated, but they still don't have finale on this yet.
Well,
yeah, look at this guy.
Look at this guy. Blasting audio with the words F you and a recording of Eye of the Tiger. I pity the Nazi that uses the song Eye of the Tiger to promote their manifesto or agenda. Or I should say, I pity the fool who use Eye of the Tiger to promote their agenda. Around 3 p.m., Block Club reporters saw a man wielding a gun and pointing it around the rooftop as police and SWAT teams below attempted to communicate with him. I don't know how much sense you're gonna relay to a guy up on the roof who's blasting music and screaming "F the police" and threats to kill them. The man blasted a loud siren in an apparent effort to drown out the officers. Cuckoo, mental health issues. Around 4 p.m. I mean, mental health issues do not condone clear racism, xenophobia, and horrible affiliations with the master race. But,
well,
around 4 p.m., the door to the building was breached by authorities and 2 loud bangs were heard. Authorities could later be heard attempting to negotiate with the man who had moved inside the building. Neighbors gathered around the block Friday. Said the man regularly goes onto the building's roof and uses his flamethrower. Wait a minute. What is? Let me get to it. The man regularly goes onto the building's roof and uses his. Come on, I must have this. Don't I have this drop in? I thought I had. I guess I don't. I thought I had Al Pacino threatening to take a flamethrower to this place.
Okay, now we're going to have to add that to our arsenal.
No pun intended.
Speaking of arsenals.
Yeah. And uses his flamethrower at night. And he'll blast recordings for hours that say F police and F Joe Biden. Well, even a broken clock is right twice a day. Among other things. The Tribune reported that neighbors have heard the man make anti-Semitic commentary. Police have been called to the building twice in recent months for similar situations. A neighbor said he asked that his name not be used out of concern for safety. Okay, so here's my thought on this. If you've got constant complaints by the neighbors that this is going on before this escalated to what we're seeing today. Whether he's broken the law or not, and obviously they didn't have enough to maybe take him in before it escalated like this. Where are mental health professionals? Where's the report that we need to keep an eye on this guy or get some mental health professionals out there to perhaps make an evaluation to like yank him into the funny farm for further evaluation? Because the fact he's blowing a flamethrower off on his rooftop clearly indicates that's probably not the only toy in his arsenal or in his toy box.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time he's done this either.
Right.
People were posting things on social media like from last year and I think the year before where he's had similar disturbances. Also reports of firing his gun into the air. And so yeah, someone on the internet was complaining, is like, well, why aren't the choppers overhead covering this scene? And someone had to explain to them, well, as soon as someone told us that we had to get our chopper the hell out of there, we couldn't cover it anymore. And then somebody told them about the gunshots and was like, well, that guy's shooting in the air, he could hit a chopper. That's not good.
Too. I also want to welcome to the chat our super patron, Mr. Dominic Palella. Dominic? No. Veronica, who was going to join us tonight, had some prior commitments. We are still working on rescheduling her. I called her today. I said, we're ready to have you on. Understand she's got a busy schedule. We will bring her back as soon as she's available, Dominic, because I do want us to be able to talk about the police councils, not only in our district here in 24, but across the city. I see Jimmy, who saves the world. Jimmy, my dear, welcome. It's always good to see you. She says, oh, my goodness, some white boomer who hates everyone that doesn't live like him playing 80s music carrying a Nazi flag. Sounds American.
No, actually, I think somebody found out what his name was.
Well, they found out the name of the person who owns the building, and I'm actually going to share that. Now, I believe that Colin had this on his thread, but he took it down until more facts are forthcoming, because I don't think Colin wants to. We know we can legally say the property is owned by a man named Igor Varentisya. Now, that's who owns the property that this Yahtzee is partying up on the rooftop with. We don't know if this is Igor yet. I guess we're waiting to confirm that. So Colin is being responsible on social media, but that's the name associated with the property records.
Although here's a better view of the flags he's got up there. He's got a pretty good grouping of flags here. Obviously, you can see the smiley face flag. He's flying the American flag upside down, which is the international or the national sign of distress. Not necessarily the nation in distress, but a general distress signal. That's a 1st Infantry Division flag, I believe. 1st Infantry Division, U.S. Army.
Not good that there's a Ukrainian flag up there with all.
Not great.
Talking about, those affiliations. So what's the smiley face in relation to? I mean, I think of the comedian from Watchmen.
Although the Watchmen comic book had like a bullet hole with blood dripping down the middle of the face, which is not present in that flag. So maybe it's just, some kind of sarcasm there, unless there's additional meaning that we're not aware of. Maybe there's some symbolism that other people maybe in the live chat know the origins of the yellow smiley face flag, if there's anything more to it.
Kathy's got a very, I think, substantive comment. He isn't black. If he were black, he'd be dead. Shooting a flamethrower.
Yeah, if he was a person of color doing all of this stuff, then very likely he'd be in custody right now. I'm kind of surprised he isn't.
I mean, there've got to be all kinds of like ordinances that this guy's violated just by going up on his roof with a flamethrower, let alone brandishing his weapon and screaming threats as he did. They plugged 16 shots into Laquan McDonald for far less. Mad Matt of Chicago shares definitely mental health issues. This could have been prevented if he was able to afford health care. Hey, Jinx and Jerry. It isn't even planned in treatment, not trauma. The system sucks. Jimmy shares he has an upside down American flag right next to the Ukrainian flag. Yeah.
So that's those actually go together right now.
That's what we hear.
For reasons we cannot go into details about.
Well, no disparagement to our Ukrainian neighbors and residents and friends. But look, this whole exercise with Ukraine through NATO and the United States, it's just an exercise in power and controlling the money that comes from the gas flowing through Europe. Really, at its core, I think this has to do with economic and empirical interests. But
that and also some irrational hatred of Russia that's gone on for decades, coming from NATO. It's, without getting too deep in the weeds, it's a proxy war. We know it's a proxy war. Tons of money are getting thrown at this thing, and only the people who aren't paying attention would still be supporting any part of this and not calling for peace.
Yeah, I mean, that is the solution, but we've got a president with one foot in the grave, basically being... look, Biden was a war pig before he became president, but it's easier for them to basically pull his strings now that the guy is on autopilot, falling on his face, because he really should not be serving right now. He should be enjoying his retirement on his front porch, screaming at kids to get off his lawn is what he should be doing. By the way, Jimmy, she says Igor is Ukrainian or Russian from the flag. I'd say he's Ukrainian. I don't know if you've heard, dear, but Ed and I want you and Warren to join us to start doing some movie commentary shows, since we kind of drive into the ditch here, talking about our other love besides politics and news, which is pop culture and media and movies. So hopefully we can set that up sometime. I think Warren was watching when we were talking about that last show. So hopefully we can set that up sometime soon. I only share that now because I don't think I saw you in our last show chat. So bring you an update. All right, so back to the article.
and also, we can maybe put a list together for Jimmy to watch some movies, because there's probably a lot of movies that we are familiar with, you, me, and Warren, that she may have never seen.
I think Jimmy's very film literate. I would be shocked if she did not have her finger on the pulse of some of this stuff that we already referenced.
Well, she can tell us which movies she hasn't seen yet, and then we can give her assignments if she wants.
Or we could. Well, I'm not going to tell Jimmy what to do. We can maybe ask her, "Hey, Jimmy, what movie do you want to talk about that hopefully we've all seen?"
Well, I mean, sure, we could do that too. I guess
we should give the lady the choice. Be gentlemen, and have her tell us what she thinks would be fun to talk about, as long as it's related to superheroes, sci-fi, pop culture. And she says she'd love it, so she's on board.
All right, cool.
All right, so back to the article.
By the way, I sent you a link in the private chat. The last one is part of a thread from a person named Gypsy Danger on Twitter.
All right,
and she's been following this thing since this afternoon, and also is familiar with the previous time he did this stuff.
Let me get through the rest of Block Club, and let's see her play-by-play, just so people can hear more about the history behind what preceded this. Police have been called to the building in recent months for similar situations. The neighbor asked his name not be used. He plays this every day, the neighbor said, as the man who could have been seen walking around the roof played one of the recordings. Nothing's going to happen. The man will sit on his roof and fire his gun sometime. How does that happen? How do you get to sit on your roof and fire your gun and the cops don't come apprehend him before this? And sometimes, and he'll scream, "I'm going to kill you," the neighbor said. At this point, it's like, we don't feel safe here, the neighbor said. Okay, oh my goodness, scroll down, man. Scroll down to this next one on Block Club. The guy's got like what looks like a concentration camp perch on his rooftop.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
You mean this one?
Yeah. Scroll. Oh, well, they've got another one that. Yeah. Go to that one. Yeah, that's the one. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Is this the one you're looking?
No. Next one.
Oh, I was zoomed in. I'll go to this one.
Yeah, the next one that shows. That's just how can every night he's doing this in clear view? Where has CPD been before this? Is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's almost like a sniper nest,
right?
It's like, why? I mean, I understand, like, you want to put up some flagpoles and stuff, or you want to have a shortwave antenna or something. You're building yourself a little mini patio so you can see over stuff. I mean, like if you went to Wrigleyville, for example, you got all those rooftops on the outside the ballpark. When people built stands up on their roofs so they could watch the games from across the street. But this is something else.
This is nuts. And this is in full view all the time with prior reports. So I don't know. Should we possibly speculate that there's an order from the, Gruppenführer of the Fraternal Order of Police to just drive by and I see nothing, I say nothing, I know nothing?
I'm curious about the history of this guy.
Yeah. Well, let's see what more it says. I don't want to broad stroke. We said it before, not all cops. There's a handful of bad cops, right? And clearly they're the ones who passed by this guy's house and responded to previous calls that didn't do anything. Many residents on the block are black. Oh, here we go. Many residents on the block are black, and there's a Latino-owned business nearby while the man making threats is white, the neighbor said. To Kathy's comment earlier, if this guy had been a person of color, they'd be pulling him down right now in a body bag if he were threatening white people. And not that I'm condoning anybody threatening anybody of any color, race, or creed, but look, I'm not saying that they should gun down a person of color threatening people like this unless they start opening fire, or this guy. But this guy should have been brought in. Oh, Ed, can you bring up that Twitter thread? I got to grab my food to put away.
Yeah.
Take myself off here. Be right back.
I just wanted to show you guys a little. There's a bunch of people following this event earlier today, and Gypsy Danger on Twitter was one of them. I'm just going to start from, I think this was 5 hours ago. Yeah, 2 in the afternoon Chicago time, and the cops are just starting to they're eating lunch, but they just put a ladder up against the edge of the building here. And this person is saying, I wonder what was for lunch. Also, this is much less interesting the third time around. So there's this guy has done something like this 2 times before. So I'm going to scroll down to the next one. And Gypsy Danger says, he just flipped their ladders off the roof. LOL. We just want to talk to you, John. So apparently they think his name is John. So that leads to the question, maybe is this guy not the guy who is named as owning the building? Could it be a different guy? We don't know. And it says 4 hours ago, 2 or 3 SWAT are scurrying on the Keeler side. Keeler Avenue is one of the streets by the tactical truck. People coming home from work are reversing down Kedvale. I myself am already thinking, how am I going to walk my dog and leave for my evening plans? Yeah, if you live in the area, you don't really want to go outside with this guy's up on the roof, with his gun or his flamethrower, torch, whatever it is. SWAT just popped the door open, I believe. This was 4 hours ago. Squad cars have pulled away from the alley opening. Okay, we mentioned that earlier from a different tweet where they busted the door in. So that happened 4 hours ago. Let me switch over to the comments really quick and see if you guys are telling me anything. Yeah, Arturo said that it looks hand built. I think he's talking about the scaffolding. Okay. Kathy's saying drive by and wave. Jimmy says they can charge him with terroristic threat, but those are just overnighters usually.
It's exactly what they should do. This guy was a terrorist threat. My delivery guy, he comes in the door and he sees, of course, Ben Affleck standing in the dining room. So he had to come in and take a couple pictures. So nice guy. Cool.
Kathy's hoping that he's hydrating. Yeah, hydration is important for everyone. You got to make sure to drink plenty of fluids.
Cheers.
Kathy says they should send up some water. Thing is, if they try to send up water, he's just going to shoot the bottles. Just saying.
So Where are we left in these updates right now?
So here I am in this thread from Gypsy Danger, and you may have missed that the SWAT had tried to put a ladder up on the side of the building so they could go up and talk to him, but he kicked the ladder off.
Why are they being okay? Actually, I understand why they're being so polite to him, because
right.
So they'd be criticized, but I honestly, Ed, I don't think they'd be taking. Right. Well, maybe they would be taking these precautions.
No, if it was a person of color, this guy would either be dead or in custody, in my opinion.
I agree with that, but yeah, the fact that he kicks the ladder down and is not cooperating is exactly why they have all the reason in the world to barrel in and apprehend him and charge him and haul him away.
Yeah, and so when we started talking about this story, we had gotten to another person's tweet had shown that they had just busted the door open. This is from Gypsy Danger's viewpoint of that which happened 4 hours ago. And then says they didn't really seal off the area well. A guy on a bike just rode through the scene. Got photographers and neighbors trying to get close. Doesn't seem like a good idea.
You think?
Yeah. 3 hours ago says tear gas, but I missed the exact moment. It's hard to work from home and watch SWAT.
So clearly they don't want to shoot this guy. They want to take him alive, and they're doing everything they can to prevent an escalation of him shooting at them.
Right.
And if they tossed in tear gas to try to bring him out alive, but I'm surprised the tear gas hasn't basically de-escalated things, that the guy's going to come out coughing and where they could just cuff him and haul him away.
Yeah, so here's the guy that was going to try to talk him down, and of course SWAT has to arrest him. Right.
So they'll wait, but is he a black guy or a white guy?
Black guy.
Of course.
Yeah,
there we
go. There you go. And I don't was that barking was in the video, I'm guessing. Okay.
Oh.
So 2 hours ago, she says we're going on hour 8 or 9.
Kathy says you got to give those cyclists room. And you know what, Kathy, I'm going to tease something later in the show about, speaking of Nazis, we have bike Nazis in Chicago, but that's just the tease for later.
I hate Illinois bike Nazis.
I think I'm going to be doing more Harrison Ford, Ed. I think I'm getting good at it. Grumpy Harrison. You know what's funny? Yeah. I always shave for the show because I want to look nice. And tonight it was like I had some beard and I was jumping in the shower to shave before. And as I started shaving, I said to myself, "Shit, I could have left the beard because I was just coming up the Harrison Ford bit." Yeah.
Yeah, you could have gone 5 o'clock Shadow Harrison Ford.
5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, doesn't matter. God damn it.
Yeah. So here they are. We got more photos. SWAT coming around the bend. It's like they're posing for photos here.
This is what we saw in Uvalde. Before that shooter killed all the kids in the school, cops love to pose around their paramilitary vehicles, show off all their high-tech gear. But when the time comes that they actually got to go breach and save kids, they all pussy out. I rarely use that word, but I think it was appropriate here.
And so then an hour ago, they're in. It says we have entry. That's what she said. In parentheses, it says that right in the tweet.
I wonder if Gypsy Danger watches her. No, she doesn't. They don't.
And then the next tweet says, "Oh wait, they backed out quickly and shut the door. Tear gas, maybe." Okay, so they gassing the guy. It says the SWAT vehicle is just 53 minutes ago. The SWAT vehicle is reversed and is no longer visible in the alley. One fallen ladder has been taken away. This is how they started to leave last time. Will they leave a third time without anyone in custody? All this media attention,
dude. This is like Keystone Cops shit.
Yeah, what the hell? And then it says 46 minutes ago they're back and they mean business. Do they?
In a black and Latino neighborhood, Ed. It's like they're literally waiting for, they're going to allow something to happen before they can arrest him. Now, it's good that you found Gypsy Danger's thread, because as I got to the end of this Black Club Chicago article, where I left off before I grabbed my Thai food, it says, we talked about the neighbors complaining, Latino business nearby. The neighbor said he used to be able to talk to the man, but the man changed in recent years and started playing the recording and using weapons, and he's scared to say anything to him now. Before, He wasn't this type of guy, the neighbor said, but lately it's like he went over the edge. This is a developing story.
Yeah.
Check back for updates. And this was from, what did I say earlier? From 12:26 p.m.
Yeah.
And Ed's getting updates from someone on Twitter who's not even like a journalist because they're not letting him close by.
No, Gypsy Danger, let's give you some cred here.
Wow.
E_SQRD_affair on Twitter says Globetrotting Life Aficionado. Thank you so much for the content. This is the last tweet from her so far. It says,
Art figured it out.
Some of SWAT wants to get to the Swift concert. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so I mean, we should say Taylor Swift a couple times during the show so the transcript can get that for the algorithm.
Yeah.
Just so people know that we are aware Taylor Swift is having a concert this weekend. We didn't really have too much constructive to say about it because it's not really our generation's music.
I think she's highly overrated anyway.
I don't have much of an opinion. I did like that Shake It Off song when it was popular, but that was a while ago.
But Ed, ladies and gentlemen,
yeah,
we grew up with Tina Turner, who we lost last week, who we forgot to mention. That's the music we grew up on. That's the kind of stylings that I have respect for. Taylor Swift.
Look, I mean, she brought, she started off as an independent person playing her own guitar and doing her singing, and so she deserves the stuff that she's getting now. I have no problems with her. But yeah, as far as the music that we grew up with, go find after the show. Go find the video of Tina Turner when she was with Ike and Tina Turner doing "Proud Mary" live. Because that is just an amazing performance, and she's done so much more.
Every Tina, I'll tell you how much Tina Turner affected me. When I lived in Chicago and I was off for a semester at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, before I left for that semester, I had purchased tickets for a Tina Turner concert in Chicago, and I couldn't afford. Oh, my mother's going to hate me for telling this story, but I'll tell it. I couldn't afford a train trip back to Chicago to make the Tina Turner concert. And I also had set up a date with a lovely lady that I was trying to impress who lived in Chicago. So you know how much I wanted to see Tina Turner and make that date, Ed? First and only time in my life, I hoboed a freight train from Southern Illinois to Chicago. And by the time
on a train,
I didn't jump on the train. I jumped on a train, on a steel train. Okay, it was in a freight yard, and I basically mapped out the path, hoping that I was on a train that was going to go to Chicago, and it did. And the rail yard guys, some rail yard guys saw me, and I lied, and I said, "Hey, I got to get to Chicago. A relative passed away, and I can't afford train fare." And they're like, "All right, well then that's the car you should sit inside to be safe." And I'm like, but it was funny because by the time the train had made a couple stops before it got to Chicago, so I'd get off, and then it was so hot in the boxcar I was in, when it made a stop at a rail yard, I got on one of the flatbeds. So by the time the train was approaching Chicago at like afternoon, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, bright sunny sky, I'm on the flatbed. I took off my t-shirt, my and I was like literally like sunning myself on the flatbed as it made the last stretch to Chicago. And when I got to Chicago, actually I got off in Homewood Flossmoor, and then I was able to afford taking a Southern commuter train. But I looked like Mel Gibson from Mad Max with all the soot on my face and my hair blown back. It's quite an experience. But I was not going to miss Tina Turner. I was not going to miss that woman. It was a fantastic concert at Rosemont Horizon. Man, she was amazing. We're off the Yahtzee story, so we can.
So was that before or after the roof collapsed at that place?
Before. This was back in 1985. Her 85 performance at Rose. It was actually the year before I had my accident. That's kind of how I'm able to like gauge my calendar here. Yeah, I mean, although as far as the accident went.
Well, I'm not so easy to kill.
It's true.
It's true. Anyway, let's go to our next story. Migrant update, everybody. I mean, I was debating whether I should cover this or we should cover this because we're talking. I mean, it's an ongoing important story, moving from neighborhood to neighborhood, ward to ward, as more and more residents are getting involved in the plans that are being put into place to house and give support to the migrants who have fled their situations in countries that we have destabilized as a nation and an empire. Suddenly everybody's concerned, well, why are we giving all the migrants help? Why aren't we helping the homeless? Yeah, like those people ever gave a shit about the homeless before. Now they're bringing it up. But anyway, so Madison Saavedra from Block Club Chicago updates us on the fact that 400 migrants will move into Daly College this weekend, but some neighbors oppose the city's plan. Neighbors for and against the city's plan spoke up during Thursday's meeting, which remained mostly peaceful. About 300 neighbors gathered at Richard J. Daly College to hear the city's plan to house up to 415 people in 3 college buildings, including a gymnasium. We kind of touched upon this, I think, a week ago. And here was the meeting to involve and engage the community. The crowd remained respectful through most of the meeting, but there were short outbursts at times. People would begin moving in Saturday, and the temporary shelter would be active until August 1st, said Matt Dowdy, a coordinator with the Office of Emergency Management and Communications. Only families with children younger than 18 would be housed there, he said. The shelter comes as Chicago faces a humanitarian crisis as Texas Governor Greg Shitface Abbott and other Republican governors representing border states send Central and South American migrants to Chicago. You know what? I am going to start using the word refugees. Because isn't that what most of them are? Or a good handful of them?
But I mean, migrants is accurate too. It's fine.
Yeah, it is. But you know, the thing is that I find interesting, and I have no problem with our country being a sanctuary country for all migrants, immigrants, refugees. It just seems to me when they're light-skinned and beautiful and come from Eastern Europe, they're welcomed with open arms. But if you're dark-skinned from south of the border, you're treated like garbage. And everybody should be treated as welcomed, I think. But what do I know?
Yeah, we need to try and do better as a nation and stop being so subservient to the Nazi and bigoted leaning people in our country.
The discriminatory, xenophobic, prejudiced, anti-Semitic.
We're all human, right? Mostly. I mean, some of us are part pizza, but mostly human. And, you know, be kind.
Adventuring.
To people. Now, being kind and being nice are 2 different things.
Yeah.
But,
no, well, being nice. It's just being. I think being caring.
Yeah.
Being empathetic and putting yourself in other people's shoes. I had a conversation with my cousin John today. We were talking about the migrant issue and how so many people lean into, well, if they came over legally, like migrants and immigrants did in the past, I'd have no problem with them. To which I respond, it was much easier for immigrants and migrants to come in through Ellis Island back in the 20s and 30s because they were exploited to build the country's infrastructure by all of the robber barons and all of the industrialists. And once that was over with, suddenly we weren't the melting pot welcoming immigrants, being a nation of immigrants. Suddenly the doors were shut. And the process now is not the same as it was then. It's not as easy. And, you know, truth be told, Ed, a lot of migrants who do flood into this country are taking all the shit jobs that companies don't want to pay Americans a fair living wage for anyway. I'm going to go there. Somebody who complained about, who I regularly debate with this with, you know, I asked them, because I know they have a landscaper. I'm like, all right, so if you're that against, you know, everybody being legal and documented, have you asked for papers from your landscaper's workers? Well, no, I'm not going to do that. Why? It's okay to have the landscapers do that work no one else will do, but those are the people who are coming over here doing the work that I mentioned in a previous show, this movie called A Day Without a Mexican, where the entire country shuts down when suddenly every Mexican in the country disappears. it's a comedy, but our economy relies on migrants and people who come here who are fleeing situations, seeking political asylum. Of course, there are many who want to abuse the system. We know that. But are you going to broad stroke and punish those who are actually fleeing for their lives and their safety? Because you want to punish the ones who want to abuse the system, of which you think your tax dollars are paying for all of them?
Yeah, and then there, it's the rest of the argument about not wanting migrants or people seeking asylum or whatever to come in here are typically based in politics. It's your politicians who are creating these dog whistles to get people angry at the other person instead of angry at the situation where your representatives don't actually do things to represent you. And so they decide to distract you by creating division that shouldn't happen. We should be supporting everybody who comes into this country. We should be because it's a melting pot. It had always been a melting pot. And what we need to realize is that it's not people coming to steal your jobs.
Those aren't the jobs Americans are normally want to take anyway.
But it's not even that. It's just, like you said, when other countries get destabilized, and many of those times it's through an American imperialism that made it that way, made their countries that way. And then they come here because they hear all these great things of opportunity and everything. Then they come in and they want to try and do that. And what we have is our politicians try to make it more difficult for people to do any type of legal immigration by creating all these roadblocks. Now we just recently when that thing that Trump had in place where he was just blocking all immigration expired, Biden had something to throw in its place almost immediately, and it had to do basically with setting up roadblocks for people trying to immigrate that weren't doing it through whatever legal maze of channels that people need to go through to do it legally these days.
And let me be fair here. Whether it's refugees or migrants who are fleeing persecution or seeking asylum from Eastern Europe or south of the border, we should welcome all of them because there is a place for them here. But I would also say, Ed, why do you think more Eastern Europeans are welcome than people of color from south of the border or other countries? It is because of the color of their skin and because people are worried about the United States of America becoming too ethnic. I'm going to go there. This has a lot to do with white culture not understanding that we're supposed to be a diverse nation, and there is a threat to the ruling class that's primarily, let's face it, white, old white people who have been in positions of power for decades and generations personally themselves, especially on the right. I mean, those on the left are embracing some diversity, but they're not serving that diversity. They're just using it as a identity politic ploy to make people think that they give a shit. But I think a lot of the heart of it, Ed, unfortunately, really does speak to a hidden racism that a lot of us thought should have gone away, but has been allowed to rear its ugly head since Trump made it fashionable to just be ugly again and not worry about having a filter with horribly anti-Semitic, racist, or discriminatory attitudes or worldviews.
Yeah. Let's look at the live chat really quick here. Oh, we got Joy. Good to see you. Says refugees and asylum seekers are illegal. Yeah. No person is illegal. When people say the phrase illegal immigrants, it's an ignorant term because what they're probably getting at is that when people come in here and are migrating or are seeking asylum or whatever to get here, that those people are not illegal. The act of entering the country through what might be considered not legal means doesn't make you an illegal immigrant. Okay, it just makes you a migrant. And people need to stop discriminating that way, because no person is illegal, and we should be helping people instead of penalizing them. If they come here for asylum, or if they tried to immigrate and just didn't know the legal channels, then they should have people to help them work around doing things the legal way, instead of just deporting everybody and calling it a day.
And building walls. And Joy mentions Cubans are more welcome than Haitians because, communism in Cuba. That's why. There's that whole buzzword and trigger button, because Cuba is communist, and most people fleeing Cuba hate communism or Castro. Well, of course we're going to welcome them, because it's all about like the political identities that are used to divide us. Welcome, Joy. It's good to see you also. And she makes another good point. It would help if nonviolent ex-cons could get jobs. Yeah, for a living wage too, not just the slave wages that they give a lot of the migrants who pour in here, taking the jobs that nobody can live off of. Art shares, actually, if you consider how stacked we are with inflation, the country will need a whole new class of immigrants to do the jobs that nobody wants. And
don't worry, Art, because AI and robots are already in line to take all that stuff over.
Yeah.
So the rest of us are screwed.
And Joy also shares Haitians fought and won independence. So, well, let me get back to the article real quick regarding this meeting and where things stand. As I mentioned, people could begin moving in Saturday, and the temporary shelter would be active until August 1st. The shelter comes as Chicago faces a humanitarian crisis. Oh, we went into that. There are 8 city-run shelters, and they are all near or at capacity. Dowdy said. He said it's unclear how long buses of people are expected to keep arriving, but the city is seeing about 85 people arrive every day. Oh, you know what? I'm reminded of something a friend shared with me. They started a job with about 50 people at a bakery warehouse, and after 6 hours, they let go anybody who couldn't keep up. And that person couldn't keep up because the work was fast and grueling and awful. So that person was told they couldn't have the job. This is basically like, a slave labor situation. You can't keep up. You're going. I mean, this is what we hear about in Amazon warehouses too. We heard all that when Amazon workers were trying to unionize. Companies are not able to hire the illegal immigrants when they would work the job better than older or more challenged Americans. Anyway, I just thought that was worth throwing in there also. So yeah, before I lost track of that thought. Since August, 10,502 men, women, and children have come to Chicago. About 4,500 are staying in the city's temporary shelters. More than 600 are waiting in police stations for shelter space to become available. A space like Daly College is ideal because it's move-in ready and the city doesn't have to pay rent since it owns the spot, Doty said. Anyway, that's an update on that. I also heard that they were looking at converting a hotel.
Yeah.
Lincoln Park. I don't remember the details on that. It kind of crossed my radar, but I don't recall the. Could you maybe look that up and we could just throw it in?
Yeah, let me see. We covered that on Tuesday.
But not the Lincoln Park Hotel, I don't think. The closed. I think it. I want to say I think it was actually there for it was like one of those temporary housing hotels, single resident occupancy. Maybe I'm wrong. The need to support newcomers continues to be significant. This situation needs relief for the local police officers, for area residents who rely on our police officers, and for our new arrivals themselves. This is all ground we went over last time update we had. The city's received similar backlash to opening migrant shelters in the Woodlawn and South Shore communities. 3 people were arrested in February while protesting the Woodlawn shelter. Another group of South Shore neighbors sued the city last month to get them to stop converting a shuttered high school into a shelter. People staying at the Daly College shelter will need to abide by city rules. No visitors, no illegal drugs or alcohol. They must check in and out at the front desk and must abide by an 11 p.m. curfew. SkyTech Security Services will provide 24/7 security at the building, and police officers will patrol the area regularly. Now, Alderman Derek Curtis, whose ward includes Daly College, was one of the 13 alder people who voted against allocating $51 million in surplus funds to staffing. By the way, do you know who was also very against the funding to help the migrants because he wasn't getting enough in his ward?
Probably Ray Lopez.
Well, besides Ray Lopez, David Squeaky Moore,
of course,
who spent how much money to rename Lakeshore Drive?
He threw a fit at the last city council meeting.
Yeah. Now getting money for his community is important. Why weren't you focusing on that while you were wasting your time renaming Lakeshore Drive and spending all that money on all the signage? The budget went completely out of control over what it was originally estimated at. And I know at that time, I bring this up because it's funny. These aldermen who don't want to help the migrants, who are saying, well, they need the money for their wards. Where were you before getting the money for your wards, screaming about it, fighting for it, instead of focusing on your pet projects to virtue signal identity politics?
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden they care about the thing that they didn't care about before because of another thing that they don't want to care about, so they can use it to deflect. And it's not, and the point is not to say that both issues don't matter. Because the truth is, we do need to address the homeless crisis. We do need to address the different wards not having the funds and the support and the resources that they need. And we also need, as a sanctuary city, we need to address our migrants crisis. And it's a crisis because they keep coming, not that they're necessarily...
Well, more because of Abbott shipping them here. Yeah. That's the other thing we weren't prepared for.
Well, and then the bigger argument there is that we should have federal support, monetarily and resource-wise, to make sure that the influx of migrants is properly supported, because we should be a gigantic melting pot that is welcoming to immigrants, not scapegoating them for all of the country's problems.
Let me jump into the article on that note, Ed, because the wonderful quote here, speaking exactly what you said, newly elected Alderman Helu Gutierrez of the 14th, whose ward is across the street from Daly College, said she understands people have different backgrounds and opinions on the matter. This is about being human and providing humane spaces for people, she said. They are coming to seek opportunities like all of us here and fleeing dangerous situations to make that journey here. Several people said they're concerned about funding being used to help migrants rather than current residents who are in need. We do not take care of our own people, one woman said. If we're going to work together, then we need to take care of everybody. Yeah, we do. So demand both. Demand both. Not just now. This, if anything, Ed, this places a big shiny spotlight on the fact that this fucking city under Lightfoot and Emmanuel didn't do shit for people. We have a mayor who's 3 weeks in now, picking up, opening the Pandora's box that Lightweight left him. This was an evolving situation. She was shipping people out to Burr Ridge because she didn't know how to handle it. But again, it's like, this is not, and you know, to be fair, people have been complaining that money isn't been going into the neighborhoods. Not everybody that should be with these older people who are now, you know, I think they're jumping on the bandwagon to show their constituents they're on their side now. Well, where were they before this? Why weren't they fighting this hard before? We suddenly had the migrants shot. They should have been fighting before, so that when the migrants were dropped on our doorstep, this wouldn't be an issue. So that's the update. The article goes on and on and on. We've talked about this like literally every broadcast for the past month. Yeah. It is an important story, but that is an update that I felt we would, you know, bring up really quickly.
Yeah. And regarding your question on the hotels, I think there's a few different hotels where migrants are being kept right now. I found one article from Fox 32 that says the Illinois hotel industry downtown residents speak out on migrant crisis, and generally, let's see, they're talking about
the Diplomat Hotel. You shared in the private.
Well, there is that, but I'm talking about the president and CEO of the Illinois Hotel and Lodging Association, Michael Jacobson, wants to address the situation from an employment perspective. He says, that's the crazy thing about this is that we have 1,600 open positions in hotels just in the city of Chicago, and we have thousands of migrants looking to work. The math doesn't add up. People want to work.
Good point, but why aren't they also offering those jobs to people here in Chicago? Or why aren't people in Chicago taking those jobs?
Well, probably because A, they probably don't pay enough, and B, maybe those jobs do or do not really exist unless the price is right. Let's see. They listed one Streeterville hotel. They've got migrants in. Which one did they say it was?
Well,
in Chicago, I think it was called.
To correct myself, you found the article. It wasn't Lincoln Park. They want to transform the Diplomat Motel in Lincoln Square into transitional housing. Yeah,
that was the other article I found.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking of.
And these are like these articles are like within the last day or two. So it's like the things that we had discussed last time we talked about migrants are some of the actions that they're actually taking now. They're starting to try and see if they could put people in empty motels, and then obviously, the business end of Chicago is trying to see, since these people, a lot of them want to find jobs, to find ways to expedite their work permits or visas or whatever they need in order to work legally. So I don't have a huge problem with that as long as they're making sure to pay a living wage regardless of who actually ends up working. But if somebody who isn't a migrant is looking for those types of jobs, they should go hit up the hotels now and let them know that they're available.
Yeah. Oh, look, Ed, my Brave browser is behaving tonight. I can share screens from my computer and not.
Oh, knock on wood.
Okay. My head.
Yes.
All right. Let's get into our next story. This is also. I don't want to call it a follow-up because, well, it is kind of a follow-up because when I first was invited to host Chicago Corner, this was one of the first stories we covered, and this was the General Iron protest in early 2021. Because that's referenced in this article. Let's bring that up and show the pictures there while I read from the article. Now, remember, Lori Lightfoot's administration decided to grant these permits, and I think at one point, if I'm remembering correctly, some of the environmental watchdog agencies had denied a permit, but then they were denied the permit, right? I think the last time we reported on this, they were denied the permit. But as reported by Maxwell Evans, a judge overrules the city's decision to block Southside Recycling from opening, but Mayor Johnson vows to appeal. So once again, talking the talk, walking the walk. He's very clearly aware of the environmental racism and the environmental concerns that General Southside Recycling, which took over General Iron's operations, presents to that community. So a recycling company's controversial bid to move defunct Northside metal scrapper General Iron's operations to the southeast side received a new life after a judge overturned the city's denial of the company's operating permit. Southside Recycling was blocked by Public Health Commissioner Dr. Allison Arwady in February 2022 from opening a facility at 11600 South Burley Avenue. And that was seen as like a big win, big victory.
Yeah.
In East Side. The facility was set to take on troubled scrapper General Iron's assets and employees. Parent company Reserve Management Group spent $80 million to build the East Side facility, company officials said. Now, this is what I remember when we originally reported this story. They built this facility without any guarantee of getting a permit, which means they assumed they were going to grease the right palms to get the permit.
Yeah, or they already thought they did.
Whether they were going to be operating within the rules and regulations or not. Mm-hmm. So they appealed the permit denial in the city's administrative hearings court in March of 2022. Southside Recycling met the rules and requirements to receive a permit, and the city must vacate Arwady's decision to deny the permit. Administrative law judge Mitchell X ruled Thursday. So I also want to side note. Do you know what an administrative law judge is? It's not a real judge.
A glorified lawyer.
It's a lawyer moonlighting for the city as a judge. And more often than less, those lawyers who are paid by the city to rule on these things are going to rule in the favor that, they're being paid for. They're definitely influenced.
They're going to rule in the favor of the city getting money.
X overturned the denial after he found the findings of the health impact assessment Arwady cited in her permit denial were quote-unquote improperly applied, and she did not have authority to use them as a basis of her decision. Southside Recycling was responsive to the city's request for more information during the permit application process, despite the city's claims to the contrary. The health department's position in the denial letter that other reserve management group facilities on the company's Eastside campus posed a risk to the community was contradicted by the department's lack of enforcement against those facilities. Quote, the ruling is a welcome victory after years of unforeseen obstacles and delays, said Randall Sanborn, spokesperson for Reserve Management Group, who's dedicated to polluting that community and contaminating the air and causing all kinds of respiratory illnesses for the residents in that community. The company will continue pursuing all available options to open Southside Recycling, including a pending lawsuit, which was on hold as the administrative law case played out, Sanborn said. The lawsuit bought by Southside Recycling seeks at least $100 million in damages because of the city's denial. So they want to pollute the community and squeeze $100 million from the city of Chicago when they didn't have the permit before they started fucking construction. Shouldn't that be a requirement? You don't start construction until you know you've been cleared. I mean, I guess there's an argument to be made that a facility has to be inspected, but I mean, there's a lot of money being spent here. So I think you're going to present your plans, and your plans are supposed to accurately reflect what you're building, by which they would issue a permit in advance so you can begin construction. Not just, oh yeah, you bought the land, go build it, and we'll see if you can get a permit afterwards. Because then it leads to this kind of nonsense. Yeah,
or at the very, very least, they would get some type of provisional permit to basically operate so they can expect to make sure that they're doing what they need to be doing before they get a permanent permit,
Kathy says they operated without a permit for a while. Yeah.
So, I mean, this goes back to the old Chicago machine politics, They shook a bunch of hands, and they gave people maybe a couple greenbacks in the pocket, whatever a greenback is, I don't know. And
Kathy, do you think so?
No, what I think is that Lightfoot knew about this. She gave him the go ahead, thinking that everything was just going to be great. And then when the protests started happening, she backtracked and moonwalked back her position to deny the permit. And then of course they went to legal proceedings to try and see if a judge would do it. And of course you find some happy administrative judge who has no problem with pollution, because he don't live there. I'm starting to learn how to translate Kathy Powers' posts when she does this. It's like she's not calling us out on our BS.
Yeah, I got it.
She's calling the situation BS.
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
I was looking for I don't have that clip loaded anymore of Lori actually moonwalking when she was selling her swag before the election. That's what I was going to play there. But
yeah, and Kathy, you can correct us anytime you think we're Ed-splaining or Jerry-splaining.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You will stop speaking. You will stop speaking. You're full of crap, and that's the nicest thing that I can say.
Thanks, Lori.
Lori Lightfoot. I hate that woman. Okay. Grumpy Harrison Ford, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. So Jerry's got the Harrison Ford impression. So next time we do Harrison Ford stories, we go to Jerry.
There you go. The ruling is okay. I said that one. The company will continue pursuing all the $100 million in damages because of the denial. Now here's where Mayor Johnson comes in. Mayor Brandon. Okay, wait a minute. Let me do that one more time. Here is where Mayor Brandon Johnson comes in. Mayor Brandon Johnson strongly disagrees with the judge's decision Thursday, and his administration, quote, will immediately appeal the administrative judge's ruling, he said in a statement. Earlier this year, city health workers, reserve management group employees, and consultants hired by the company testified for weeks before X about the scrappers' plans and the permit denial. Through dozens of hours of testimony, city officials defended Arwadi's decision to block Southside Recycling from opening. The plans would have harmed residents of a neighborhood that has long been overburdened with industry and pollution, they said. Health officials had legal standing to pause the permit review, start a health impact assessment, and ultimately deny the permit, city attorneys argued. See, this is how the city's supposed to work on the behalf of the residents and the health concerns.
Yeah. The funny thing is that they wouldn't have done any of this if people hadn't raised a stink about it.
Or had those big protests out in Lori Lightfoot's neighborhood where they marched back in spring of 2021.
Do we have a story about how her security detail is a lot smaller now? How they don't have a Fort Lori anymore over by where she lives?
Well, she ain't going to be living there much longer, and we'll cover that in a story later. But that warms my heart to know that they pulled her security detail. I mean, yeah, she was driving around like she was the freaking president of the United States. I'm driving around blowing off red light cameras and speeding through school zones too, might I add, because it was all about safety. And she never paid the tickets. Anyway, a federal investigation of the state's approval of Southside Recycling pushed the city to look more closely at its own review, said Megan Cunningham, the city's deputy public health commissioner and leader of the health impact assessment. Quote, "This is what environmental justice looks like." Michael Regan, the head of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, who in 2021 urged the city to pause its permit review and complete a health impact assessment, said after the permit denial. Southside Recycling's attorneys repeatedly disputed Arwadi's decision and questioned her authority to block the company's operations. Well, okay, I'm not a big fan of Arwadi, but in this case, I think the city has all the authority in the world to get in the way of private enterprise where it comes to basically poisoning people living in the community. You decide you want to recycle metal and pollute the air in. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the article goes on and on and on. It does reference our other former odious Mayor Rahm Fuckface Emanuel. Former Mayor Rahm Emanuel's administration got the ball. Any surprise, Ed? Got the ball rolling on General Iron's exit from Lincoln Park. Why?
Uh-huh.
Why?
Because he has friends in Lincoln Park that didn't want him there.
Yep. Lightfoot's administration agreed to help the company move to the southeast side in 2019, and the Zoning Board of Appeals approved plans for the scrapper the same year. The city's support spurred Southeast Siders to file a civil rights complaint, which led federal officials to determine the city discriminated against black and brown residents by moving polluters into their neighborhoods, hence environmental racism, hence the phrase environmental racism. Get away from all the rich white communities and go poison the people of color.
Yep, and now he is the ambassador F-face of Japan.
Now, sadly,
I take responsibility for what happened because it happened on my watch.
Wonder how much pollution Godzilla makes.
no, he doesn't. He doesn't take responsibility. Fuck Rahm Emanuel. Thank you, Harrison.
Indy.
Anyway, yeah, so that's the environmental racism aspect. Lori Lightfoot's administration later settled with the federal government and agreed to reform its policies with an eye toward environmental justice in the final days of Lightfoot's term, after all these protests that were literally outside her home in her neighborhood. But the health department also quietly issued the first of two permits in 2020, breaking a promise to notify residents as permit reviews moved forward. Well, look, the point of bringing us up to date on this was that wait and see. Doesn't seem like Johnson's going to be putting up with the what is speculatively a lot of corruption there. I don't think he's going to ignore the needs of that community. regarding these environmental issues. So let's see how that all plays out. But at least he stepped up and made a statement on what the city is going to be doing to fight this potential permit reversal. So let's see what's next in the show notes. Okay. So this is amazing. This is an amazing story. This is amazing. Because. And did the story? Where's the story? Oh, I'm getting. Do we have an art? You know what? All right. My Brave browser does not have the archive. Can you? And I don't want to
see if let me see if it's archived.
Yeah.
And I'll send you a link.
Because I don't want to open Chrome to get there.
Oh, you are in luck, sir. Hang on.
Okay.
In the private chats.
Thank you very much. Copy link address. Okay, man, we've got a nice, smooth rolling show tonight. All right, so it's not Bruce Wayne. However, one of Chicago's wealthiest people, a billionaire, has a plan to get other CEOs to help him fight violence. Now, when I realized, when I saw how old this guy was, it was clearly not going to be by dressing up in a bat suit every night and going out and, beating up gangbangers and other violent offenders. But James Crown of Chicago is leading the multi-million-dollar strategy asking CEOs to find jobs for thousands as part of an ambitious effort to cut the number of killings in Chicago to fewer than 400 a year within 5 years. Now, to those who complain about the fantasy of Bruce Wayne as Batman, saying, well, why, he's a billionaire. Why is he just out kicking ass in a bat suit? Well, actually, in the comic books, Bruce Wayne actually does this kind of stuff. Wayne Industries would create programs to invest in Gotham City, create jobs. So he's basically out there cleaning up the mess that his regular philanthropic activities actually trying to address the root causes of violence are not successful at. But getting back to James Crown, pictured with his lovely wife, Paula, one of the wealthiest men in Chicago, is aiming to use his national clout in business to try to fight crime in the city. I love the way they put that. The ambitious goal to reduce the number of killings in Chicago to fewer than 400 a year within 5 years. On Thursday, Crown, whose family was ranked the 34th richest in America, and this is the first time I've heard of this guy, by Forbes in 2020, worth an estimated $10.2 billion, is announcing a crime reduction strategy focused on getting jobs. Let me repeat that. Getting jobs. Let me repeat it again. Getting jobs for thousands of people in the most dangerous parts of Chicago. Jobs means opportunity.
Okay.
Jobs means hopefully it meets the current minimum wage, if not potentially exceeds it by a few bucks.
It should be double.
I know it should. But look, it's a start, right? But he's addressing what we talk about a lot in a lot of these abandoned communities, these abandoned neighborhoods where there aren't potential jobs that can give you a living wage. Let's create some opportunity. Providing millions of dollars for civilian violence intervention programs, strengthening law enforcement agencies, and investing in low-income communities. So Mr. Crown here, this is the first time I've heard of this guy. So I don't want to be like too Pollyanna about it, but hey man, step in the right direction. I like the way this guy thinks.
So I'm just going to challenge you, James Crown, because I know the algorithm will pass this on to you because all the billionaires get notifications when you mention their name, James Crown.
Really?
I don't know. I'm just guessing. But I'm very intuitive, Jerry. So. It's very possible. So algorithm, do us a solid. Remind him that jobs are great, but huge ass checks, money, cash for everybody who needs it right now would be an extreme help in reducing crime.
Well, it looks like James Crown is on the job, Ed.
Well, here I am.
He's a leader of the Civic Committee of the Commercial Club of Chicago, which spent 6 months doing research and conducting interviews with former Mayor Lori Lightfoot, former Police Superintendent David Brown, Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart, and leaders of dozens of organizations with ties to the criminal justice system. So he was like compiling data. That's available. I mean, they were in charge, so where is he going to go?
Right.
I mean, at least that's one of the places you should go for the data. The exclusive downtown commercial club is a who's who of corporate CEOs and hospital and university leaders. I think the hospital and university leaders is a good framing there. Historically, because they're not just all about for-profit. You've got education and you've got health care in there, along with, we would assume, mental wellness as it relates to health care. Historically, the Civic Committee has not been involved in public safety matters. Crown, who chairs its public safety task force, said in an interview Wednesday. I got to say this with real humility. We're late to the conversation. We're late to the understanding of some of these things. Better late than never. What motivated the business leaders to try now to take on violence in Chicago? Because Rahm Emanuel and Lori Lightfoot are gone, and they're not going to just dole out favors to all the rich people who are now kicking and screaming they're going to leave if they don't get what they want. Oh, they actually have to start dealing with helping making the city safe with these opportunities so they can stick around. You've got altruism, Crown said, but you've also got the enlightened self-interest of, I want to be safe. I want my workers to come to work. I want the tourists to patronize my business, whatever that might be, as opposed to an asswipe like Ken Griffin, who complains about all those things and bails out of Chicago to run to Florida. Citadel, the hedge weasel, Ken Griffin. This is everything Ken Griffin complained about. And instead of do something to fix it, like this guy is proposing, because there is some self-interest here. Look, I give this guy credit, like I said, better late than never. And I do think it took a Brandon Johnson administration to basically, kick most of these people in the ass that, as who was it? Angela Clay said, was quoted that by Kathy Powers, party's over. Party's over. It's time to start addressing this shit.
Okay.
Because get to the root causes now. It's not going to happen overnight. Everybody I talk about root causes to, Ed, and I really point to point, graph it out. Generational disparity. You've got generations to catch up with, providing the opportunities and attacking the root causes. It's not going to happen overnight. It might take another generation. But if you don't start, no amount of money towards the cops and spending more money on the police department with reactively is going to help cut the crime off so that the cops don't have to react if you try to prevent the root causes of why too many people engage in it.
Okay.
And he's outlining all of those reasons that we've talked about.
Kathy Powers mentions the Airy Crown Theater is an entertainment venue named after Lithuanian immigrant Airy Crown, who was the father of Henry Crown, the American industrialist and philanthropist.
Okay.
Now, people are wondering if it's, I know, Kathy's asking, is it the same Crowns? Yes. And she answers, okay. James Crown is the son of Lester Crown, who was the son of Henry Crown. So he's like a third generation of billionaires. So, and like Jimmy is saying here,
I want to get to this.
There should be, I have also been of the opinion that we should have this game called Billionaire Pinata, where
in any other case in relation to Jimmy's comment here, fuck these billionaires. He wants to fight crime by giving people the bare minimum. He probably calls poor people lazy welfare garbage. Yeah, maybe he does. And yeah, he probably does want to give them the bare minimum, Jimmy, and it should be more. But again, I hate the term incremental change because we're way beyond incremental. We need this is something Bernie Sanders also, as much as I'm disappointed by him now, incremental change takes too long. We're way behind on the incremental change because it never happens. But look, in this case, I'm trying to be positive about it, and time will tell, Jimmy, if what this guy's proposing is actually embraced by everyone else, or maybe it's performative. Maybe he's saying it to like increase his own public, what do they call it? His public influence, a capital, right? But maybe not. I mean, it is going to depend a lot on the other billionaires and industrialists and other people in the city, to cooperate with it and actually take some steps towards it.
And I mean, even if he can get some other billionaires to go along with his plan here, it's still going to be operating from the perspective of billionaires, and they just don't see stuff the same way that we see things. So when we see that there's a problem, they may not see that problem or even be able to comprehend or understand it because it's not situations that they have to deal with. They probably have assistants to help them in the bathroom. You know, they live on a completely different level of wealth, to the point where even if they see that there's a problem and they want to help, they may not be able to do it just by having the will to do charitable things or try and influence how the economy works or how the other billionaires or other business people act. You may need to do things like legislation to make billionaires not billionaires anymore.
Hoarding the wealth. And Jimmy says too, yeah, they're crumbs. They are throwing us crumbs. But I guess the thing that strikes me about this particular write-up on him, you know, he says, yeah, you've got altruism, but he's at least acknowledging the enlightened self-interests of I want to be safe, I want my work. At least he's being honest. He's not lying about it. Which I will give him some props for, as much as, yeah, I'm not thrilled with billionaires either, and the fact that we're just getting crumbs. But, again, I think this was a kick in the ass to everybody who thought Palos Paul was going to win, carve up the rest of the city for their private interests. And now they're going to be forced to deal with a mayor who's actually, I think, going to represent more of the people's interests while trying to figure out how to engage and balance business interests as well.
And now, I have one more idea for James Crown. So algorithm, do us a favor and pass this on to him too. Just buy everybody some homes. Get people a roof over their head so they don't have to worry about that extra mortgage or rental expense, so that they can help contribute to the economy that you want to bounce back.
He probably doesn't pay his fair share in taxes, says Joy. Dominic shares, let's see some actions, not just words. Yeah, well, here's the announcement, and we're going to keep up with it. As I said with Brandon Johnson, with anybody who makes these bold public statements, it's not like we're going to forget them. We have the tape and the receipts. Jimmy also, incremental change takes too long. How many more years are we going to wait around listening to them say they're going to do this by that year? Well, like most members of Congress, whether it's Nancy Pelosi or Dianne Feinstein or Chuck Schumer, who they're always, this time around, it's going to be different. Now they're going to change things after decades of service where they didn't do a fucking thing. Yeah, Jimmy, you're starting to sound like I did until Brandon Johnson became mayor. Yeah,
but it's okay, Jimmy. All it really means is that you're starting to wake up to the reality of the shit show that is currently happening in this country. It doesn't have to happen. You know, if you've tuned in on Tuesday, we gave you the rundown on how the deficit, the debt ceiling thing is just a huge charade.
Yeah, the myth of the debt ceiling.
Yeah, I was calling it the austerity kayfabe. You should definitely check that video out because I give you a rundown of MMT as well. It was a pretty good show. I was actually amazed with how coherent I was during that show.
Ed, you're really good when you look. Ed's like a computer brain. He has a lot of warmth too, but you helped me understand a lot of that stuff because I look at modern monetary theory, the moment, and a lot of the accounts regarding it, and the debt ceiling and the deficit and economics. I'm just not a math person or a numbers person. So Ed, I think, really was able to explain it pretty cohesively for the layperson who is not as strong with numbers and figures or calculations or that type of processing that is.
Well, and part of it is that there was just so much bad information going around, and the fact that all of our politicians and half of the people in media don't understand how federal spending really works, or are paid to not understand or paid to obfuscate the actual truth in how federal spending works, because everybody talks about my tax dollars. I don't want him paying for this or paying for that. And
they're not.
On a state and local level, they might be, but not for federal spending. SNAP benefits, for example, food assistance. Congress could fully pay for food assistance. They could expand the program, take away all the roadblocks so that everybody who needs it can get it. And they're choosing not to do this. And they're choosing to make it into another political football where they feel like it's something they can't afford to do, when the truth is they can afford to do anything they want to do.
Got money for Ukraine. Got money for the military. No questions.
And not a cent of it comes from federal taxes. You're not paying for any of that.
I mean, if we were, that's what we should be pissed off about. But, well, getting back to the article on Crown, he mentioned altruism but self-interest. Now, another interesting point, he also pointed to the astronomical cost the public pays for responding to gunshot wounds and treating them. According to a 2019 estimate by the University of Chicago, that cost amounts to about $1.5 million per person who gets shot. Thousands of people a year are shot in Chicago. So I give credit for not just going to the mayor's office, not just going to the police department for facts and figures. Clearly, I mean, you're going to talk about a numbers game and these people don't want to spend money, and look at how this money is being spent. Well, maybe you can put a cap on it by attacking the root causes again with the opportunities or the jobs or some kind of a focus on doing things proactively. In addition to providing more money for violence intervention programs, commercial club members are being asked to have their companies help find jobs for alumni of those programs in high crime areas. That's amazing. Yeah. To succeed in a job, they'll need wraparound services from community organizations, according to Derek Douglas, who is president of the organization's civic committee. Douglas said more than 10,000 people in Chicago would be candidates for such jobs. You're going to be serving, thousands of people each year, said Douglas, a former University of Chicago vice president. So we have a sense of the scale. You know what, Ed? This is where privatization, I like to see it work, since the city's not doing anything. Instead of taking over schools and taking all the money for private schools that should be going into public schools through the charters, they're doing something to strengthen the communities without taking money. They're actually looking at investing money that will save them money in the long run.
Yeah, I mean,
no fireworks.
Oh, fireworks? Huh. It is Friday night, I guess. I guess that's going to happen a little more in the summertime.
Douglas said the committee strategies will have a combined cost amounting to tens of millions of dollars, but wouldn't give a precise figure. We resisted the temptation to just declare a shiny number up front, he said. Low morale in the Chicago Police Department is one of the things the Civic Committee's plan aims to address. According to Robert Boyk, the group's vice president for public safety, who formerly was head of the police department's Office of Constitutional Policing, which was tasked with helping the department comply with federally ordered reforms under a 2019 consent decree. I see some good players lined up for this. Now, time will tell. But again, incremental change. No, we need a sprint. But it's a step in the right direction. I can tell you, officers are sick and tired of going from trauma to trauma to trauma, Boyk said, and this also accounts for a lot of the.
How do they think we feel?
Well, but a lot of the mental health breakdowns we see in the department also.
Sure. Yeah, we talked about that on a couple occasions as well. It's amazing that it sounds like they're actually starting to recognize some of the things. But like I said, they only have a certain perspective from the billionaire's point of view. So hopefully he's got enough people that he's relying on to get the regular rest of the information to fill in the blanks. Because
here's what Robert Boyk, the group's vice president for public safety, continued saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ed, but it's in direct relation to what you're saying, okay? Before I lose my thought here with how it applies. So officers are sick and tired from trauma to trauma, as we are, and so they're looking for solutions as much as everybody else is. And we have to be fair there, right? There are a number of avenues to strengthen the police department and have constitutional policing and full compliance with the consent decree. Wow. Who would have thought? Yeah, obviously. Why is that so hard to imagine? Crown said the goal is to bring the number of murders in Chicago to under 400 a year over the next 5 years and below 200 in a decade. We came up with those numbers because adjusted for population, it's what's been achieved in Los Angeles and New York, Crown said. Chicago's yearly murder total hasn't fallen below 400 since 1965, when there were 395 killings. Last year, there were 695 killings and 804 the year before, according to the police department. New York, with a population 3 times Chicago's, had 433 murders in 2022, so I guess we might be the murder capital of the country, Ed. Crown, who is a chairman and executive officer of his family's investment business, Henry Crown and Company, and a director of General Dynamics and J.P. Morgan Chase and Company, tipped his... Wait a minute.
Boy.
Wait a minute.
Red flag. Here it is.
I guess I'm going to have to start walking back all of this positive optimism. Tipped his hat to Ken Griffin, the billionaire founder of Citadel Investment Management Company. Why? He took off. He didn't want to do the stuff that Crown is proposing.
No, he's going to get into his charity work.
Yeah, he's going to go. Yeah, here's where Crown starts filleting Griffin unashamedly, shamelessly. In recent years, Griffin donated tens of millions of dollars to fund technology improvements for the Chicago Police Department and launch a training program at the University of Chicago for police leaders across the country. He moved his family and company from Chicago to Florida last year. Okay, I don't see any of that as being preventative. He was funding reactive solutions.
Yeah, and also, if Griffin really wanted to help, he should have paid for ShotSpotter, not put it on us.
Ken was very thoughtful and very generous about public safety issues, Crown said. Ken's a friend. I'm sorry he's no longer in Chicago. We're not, but that was Ken's choice. Well, you know, Ken wanted to cozy up to DeSantis in the hopes that if DeSantis runs for president, he's going to put Griffin in charge of the Treasury. So we got the fox guarding the hen house with our economic infrastructure.
But now you see why it's like you've got that billionaire perspective. They travel in different circles. He doesn't see what a terrible shit weasel that Ken Griffin is.
Well, they're friends. Look, it's like Adam Aaron at AMC. All of the investors of AMC, retail investors, saved his company, and he's basically subverting what should happen naturally with a short squeeze, with hedge funds having to cover the short positions because they're his friends. He doesn't want to see that short squeeze happen after retail investors bailed out his company because they're his friends, much like Griffin is friends with Crown here.
Yeah, and it's fairly clear that his Wall Street buddies gave him the idea in the first place to help bail out the short sellers.
Now, there was a video that came from Fox 32 Chicago. I think there was a video in this other ad. Well, you don't need to run the video. We covered it. No, and there is no video. So we can, I mean, we have an extra.
It was like a 15-second video I had put in the Slack a while back. But
okay. Yeah, we actually, there is a video opening up, but it's not, we covered it in the article and our commentary. And it's from Fox 32. So I don't feel like we need to give them any attention. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to start your engines.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
Shining with a heavenly grace, help you right on by.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
There ain't no road just like it, anywhere I find.
Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable Drive.
I love that video. I'm very proud of that video.
Yeah, that's a fun one to watch. Although I think you got somewhere on our YouTube channel, you've got the full length version of that.
Yeah, well, I actually just paused. I didn't want to.
No, because it's like a 10-minute thing.
Not 10.
Maybe not 10, but
it's long enough. Yeah. That's what she said.
But super enjoyable.
Yeah, you get to see Steve Martin and John Candy from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in that classic scene. All right, so the often promised but technically challenged NASCAR updates. We were going to put in previous shows have finally come to pass here, because there have been some updates. We've got 2 videos regarding neighborhood commentary in the community, as well as vendors left in the dust during the NASCAR event. But let's go to the first video that Ed's got here. So let's run that. This comes from Wallace. Where's this come from?
This is Kenny Wallace.
Okay.
I believe he was a NASCAR driver. Maybe he still is.
Okay.
Man, I'll tell you what, y'all are awesome. Sounds like a country song. Y'all are awesome. Anyway, today's topic's that damn street course race downtown Chicago. Seems like a little negativity building. I do understand your thoughts. It is promoted as a
crazy
rough town. A lot of shootings, a lot of deaths.
Oh, is that why we're concerned about it?
St. Louis has the same things going on, and I think LA can claim the same. Baltimore. I believe every town lets the rough side drag. Now, I will say this. I'm not going to sit here and say, don't go to Chicago, because when my whole family went downtown Chicago at the Wharf area, we really liked it, and we enjoyed their big, thick pizza. Chicago's got a lot of things going for it. I got a lot of friends up there.
It does.
So, good to know.
You know, I think it's kind of like saying, don't come to Busch Stadium in St. Louis because we got a lot of killings. Well, I mean, listen, we can argue about that all day long, but everybody goes downtown St. Louis all the time. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to get killed, because you can get killed in every damn city.
Pause it for a second.
Yeah,
we're not worried about people getting killed coming to the city. Asswipe.
He isn't either. That's the point he's making.
Okay. All right.
He's saying, he's like, you go to any city. He's like,
I know. You're not going to pick anywhere.
He's basically saying, he's talking about how other people are telling him that, like Chicago is so dangerous and everything. And it's like,
that's not the issue. This map is the issue of how it's going to shut down. I don't even think that I don't know how they're going to so quickly put up the barricades in the route that I saw simulated in one of the videos we're going to follow up with here. Because this is going to shut down the museum campus area. 4th of July weekend. Lori thought that this was a good idea, and who knows how much she walked away with approving this. All right, but that's what we're worried about here, okay? Because I can get shot walking out my front door or my back door into my alley, and it's not that I don't feel safe. It's like it can happen anywhere, man. But this is and for everything that Lori Lightfoot said was going to come to benefit the city and benefit the lakefront, there are going to be just as many people live downtown and many businesses who are completely blindsided. And again, we've been joking about the potential for damage and chaos and disaster of having cars fly around streets that were never designed for that kind of speed. And we know, because of all of the speed cams and how we're supposed to go slow on these streets. But all the money that's going to be spent fixing these streets for a car race, as opposed to where the money should be spent to provide safer roads for motorists everywhere else. But let's get back to his video. I just wanted to quickly share the map regarding what we're really concerned about.
Yeah, let me speed him up just a hair, just so we can.
I think it's a brave move by NASCAR. I think it's something they did to change it up. NASCAR's making bold moves, running on a street course in the city of Chicago. I like it. I think it's exciting. But the lead story is, if you go there, you're going to get killed. I don't think so. I don't think you're going to get killed.
The lead story is they shut down Taste of Chicago to accommodate it. They shut down all the other festivals that people could walk. For everybody that complains about all the cars and the fact that there's not enough green space, this is basically shutting down what green space there is in Grant Park around Millennium Park and the lakefront during the month that this is going to shut everything down to set it up and then actually run the race.
Yeah, it's and they're making a whole thing out of this. They're having concerts, they got sponsorships and all this other stuff, and it's like, obviously it was, all Lori Lightfoot saw was dollar signs.
Yep. At the complete expense of anybody else, how it was going to serve people's lives downtown, the average person downtown.
there could be some people that don't want this event to go good, and they could let the rough side drag. You know what I mean? But I think they're going to have good security. I'd go if somebody says, hey, listen, if I'm not running my dirt car, if I'm not busy, I'll go. But I'm going to run Saturday night right here at Kenny Slater's track, I-55 Speedway, because that's what I do. You know what I mean? But if somebody wants me to go and it's going to, I'll do it. I'm not going to. Okay, it's like this. Don't go to Italy because there's terrorists. You'll get killed. Man, I'll tell you what. I had a big vacation set for Europe, and me and my buddy Ashok, my friend, we was going to go, and my wife got nervous. She goes, "Don't go. They're killing everybody." Man, I just don't know if you can live life like that. But
You're killing everybody everywhere, dude.
Chances. But I mean, if you don't go to Chicago, you got to watch it. You got to watch it on TV. However,
because you're going to be watching a lot of car crashes.
It's going to be because I think it's going to be a hell of an event. Hey, Wallace,
pause it for a moment. You know how we use that expression? It's like a car wreck. You can't tear your eyes away from it. I think that's what literally. A lot of people will be depending on seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this guy basically he's pro NASCAR, he's pro race, he's excited about the situation, but even he has to address the all the people talking about how they're afraid of getting shot. I'm afraid of a car crashing into one of the buildings down there.
Dude, the buildings? What about the crowd? What about the crowd in the stands? Yeah. In the common person stands, not the big skyboxes that are elevated with everybody.
Oh, and from my perspective, there are going to be no common person stands. Have you seen the ticket prices? They're ridiculous.
Yeah, I think we reported on that a year ago. Kathy says, of course, they're starting to resurface LSD this weekend because of all of the traffic they're expecting to come in for this. I know Lakeshore, they started resurfacing. I know that they started around Belmont. As I was driving Lakeshore Drive, I noticed farther north. But look, a lot of this, I think, is an expectation for traffic that's going to come in. I'm not going anywhere near downtown July 4th weekend. I don't like going out right now in any hour with the traffic as a result of the congestion and the construction and everything else we're already dealing with.
Yeah, they've already started closing down some streets.
Kathy says she doesn't feel safe in Naperville.
That's a callback.
She also asks if the Yahtzees will be there.
Oh, do they have their own car?
We've heard enough from this guy.
Yeah,
we know Chicago's not safe. Let's get to the next video, though, regarding, some of the vendors who are going to be screwed with this grand master plan of NASCAR.
From a slow Lakeshore Drive to a speedy downtown around Grant Park. Big NASCAR Chicago street race now just weeks away. Despite the big crowds, the race is leaving some vendors in the dust. CBS 2's Marissa Perlman explains how NASCAR is making up for their losses.
We spoke with vendors here in Grant Park who say NASCAR coming here means a huge loss in their business. At least one vendor will be locked out of
business. Now remember, Lightfoot didn't vet any of the stuff with the alderman downtown.
No.
At all. Just, it's done. Queen Lori, done deal.
Yeah.
Fuck anybody who's going to be impacted by this. Now they're playing catch up with trying to make people whole after the damage it's going to be causing financially and economically.
Well, and you know what this is? It's the vendors that normally would have been on the street corners that are probably part of the course right now.
Yeah.
So obviously you can't keep selling stuff while cars are whizzing by you at 200 miles an hour.
Well, and those tracks and barriers are going to be taking up the space where they would normally.
Yeah, exactly.
Road, that vendor has been here for more than a decade. Buckingham Fountain is on. A sign Grant Park is about to get busy. Pedicabs and street vendors now hope for big business as high season here kicks off. But some tenants say the NASCAR takeover could drive their business out.
It's hard now for some of us.
Maria Maceo works alongside vendors here near Buckingham Fountain. She says most of these small businesses will get kicked out during NASCAR.
It's gonna shut down like half of the street.
CBS 2 obtained a list of 6 vendors from the Chicago Park District who normally do business along the course. They're now being asked to move, some for more than 3 weeks with nowhere else to go, but they will be paid for some of their losses. The Park District says Nascar will pay between $1,700 on the low end to a photographer and $76,000 on the high end to a food vendor. NASCAR's total payment to local vendors totals more than $133,000.
You know what they should have done, Jerry, is they should have given these vendors spaces inside the race stadium so that they could actually sell to the people at the race.
Well, those spaces were allotted, though, for the high dollar donors of Lori Lightfoot in the city. Oh,
no doubt.
Look who's joined us for comprehensive analysis on the cat cam.
Yeah, he's got opinions, you can tell. So do we have a yes, we got to put him on the spotlight. Yeah, there we go.
The view from Jerry's desk. Right by the keyboard. Right, buddy? All right, we'll let you listen in as we
It's like, are you guys watching me? Does this count in the like if I meow, is that part of the lines that I need to do to get my SAG card?
We're going to figure out how to integrate Professor Oreo into more of our Chicago park.
Do cats have SAG? Is it, do they have their own thing? I don't know. See, we could. Oh, this is awesome! This is a great setup right here. We could do this.
Let's do this, okay?
They hear us, and we got Oreo on the big cam. We can play the rest of this video.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
But is it enough? One food vendor tells us they pay $81,000 in rent alone to operate for 3 months. Some in the hotel industry feel positive about this first of its kind race.
And we're hearing hotels along the race route either approaching sellout or already sold out for that weekend.
Michael Jacobson says after a slow few years, the hospitality industry is hopeful the city of Chicago will fulfill its 3-year contract with NASCAR.
3 years!
That it's going to go off without a hitch this year, and that it will continue to grow in popularity.
Other vendors we spoke with say this disruption is nothing new. Lollapalooza, Sueños Festival, and the Taste of Chicago interrupt their business every summer. NASCAR is just the first organization to pay up. Reporting in Grant Park, I'm Marissa Perlman, CBS 2 News.
Well, I will say this: I think it's the people who created the Great Chicago Fire Festival. They thought it was going to be an annually recurring event. No, not after the first year. Not after the shit show that happened the first year. No.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I would have. If I was setting up a multi-year deal, I would say, okay, let's do 1 year provisional with the option for 2 more years if the first year goes well. And then they could set, a set of metrics for what a good experience or what a successful race consists.
Well, who's benefiting from this? All the hotels that are booking guests who can watch from the windows. Yeah. I guess now that I think about it, that's who's going to benefit from, not even the people they're selling tickets to in the stands. Anybody who books a hotel room along along Michigan Avenue is going to have a front row seat to all this.
Oh, that's true.
Here it goes. It's attacking the camera now.
Well, he knows. Was it a scratching post for him? Is that what the deal is?
It seems to be. All right, come on. Just if you're going to participate, just lay down. You're knocking my camera around. All right.
It's fine.
All right. Yes, Jimmy, Oreo does not approve of the NASCAR street race, clearly.
Yeah, this is fun, though. It's nice when all the technology's working.
Isn't it?
And we have a stream cat.
That's right. Oh, here we go. Here goes little cutie pie.
It's like, okay, it's stream cat nap time.
No, it's stream cat bite time.
I know, they're like, get on with the stories. We're tired of looking at your stupid cat.
I want
looking at this cat.
I want people to be aware of the other challenges along with the technical ones I'm dealing with here all the time on this side.
Oh, we put Jerry, the big. Okay, we're good.
All right, so here he goes hitting the keyboard again. All right, so let's queue up the next video to kind of wrap up the NASCAR story, and this is the course map. This is the course map that they virtually created, I believe.
This one? No, it's this one.
It's in the show notes. It's identified as.
Oh, here it is. Hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if this music's copyrighted, so I'm muting it right now. But
Mad Matt Chicago super chatted $10. Thanks, Mad Matt. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Very much. Very much. Thank you, man. We're glad that you feel our entertainment is worth tossing a few bucks up on the stage for us to shove in our G-strings. Although I go to window, so anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the course.
I think we're getting a little feedback off the speakers, probably because you got the Oreo cam up.
All right, let me remove that. Oreo did his guest starring in the show here, so we can remove that one.
So you guys see, like this is the course basically.
Yeah.
Should we start over?
Yeah.
With this?
Yeah.
Let's back up. Let's back up and start at the beginning again.
Okay. So here's the course, everybody. Now, keep in mind, you're not just seeing the course, you're seeing everything surrounding the course. It's going to be shut down, barricaded, and completely bring all traffic downtown in this area around the park to a standstill for a month. It's not just the weekend of the event. There's the setup and there's the breakdown. Because it's not going to take them a week to put everything up.
So that's southbound. Is that Lakeshore Drive? That's Columbus or whatever they're calling it. And then they cut over, and now they're on Lakeshore.
Right.
Okay.
They start, So they start going east, and then they head south. Running south on Jean-Baptiste Point de Sable Drive. Heading into town. Just slipping on by on Jean-Baptiste Point de Sable Drive. Friday Night Trouble bound. Then they head west. Veer west.
Yeah, what is this?
This is around. This is near Soldier Field and the Field Museum.
Okay.
That's where our vantage point is. Where, okay. So then, they go north on Columbus Drive, which is what they should have renamed Jean-Baptiste Point de Sable Drive. They should have taken away our Lakeshore Drive. Then it goes west again towards the Conrad. Well, that's actually the Blackstone. There's my alma mater, Columbia College. And then we're heading north again around this curve that's around the Congress. Look, these streets were not designed like a circular racetrack that you see NASCAR on, guys. Or the long stretches that you see in Monte Carlo, where these street races take place along a stretch of.
No, I mean you clearly, like when they show that overhead shot of the track, you're like, you see these 90-degree turns.
Yes.
And you're like,
what
kind of race is this? Because they're gonna have to speed up, and then they're gonna have to slow down and turn. It's like the accelerated version of Chicago traffic.
Yeah, with hard brake squealing stops. All right, so that's our NASCAR update. And as as we've mentioned before, NASCAR brought to you by. Where is she? Where is she in here? Bring up the next story. Our failing upward mayor, Lori Lightfoot, who it was reported this week after being hounded from office here in Chicago because everybody finally had enough of her, is failing upward to teach a course at Harvard. Do they have a picture for this? Oh, do they have video for this?
It says today's video
Oh, yeah.
headline.
Scroll down. No, scroll down. We can get that, the normal, very, very admonishing, unhappy Lori Lightfoot picture from the 5th floor.
I'm not seeing it.
Oh, I'm seeing it scrolling down. It's above that picture.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it probably took some time to. No,
we get these websites that it's like there's so much crap on them that when you try to scroll down, it just knocks it back up.
Scroll slowly to that picture.
You can start reading. I'll get there.
All right. So here's where we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Here we go.
Much like, Rahm Emanuel failed upward to the ambassadorship of Japan, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is taking on a new role in education less than a month after she left office. Beginning this fall, Lightfoot will teach a course at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, tentatively titled Health Policy and Leadership, according to an announcement from the school. Lightfoot, who left office May 15th after losing re-election, will serve as the Richard L. and Ronay A. Menschel Senior Leadership Fellow at the school beginning at the end of August. The Menschel program, according to the school, offers a rare opportunity for those who've recently served in top-level positions in government, multilateral institutions, nonprofit organizations, and journalism to spend time at the school mentoring and teaching students who aspire to similar roles. Lightfoot will hold regular office hours to meet with students, faculty, and staff during her time on campus. I'm sorry, do you want a private meeting with Lori Lightfoot, or do you want to go to Lori Lightfoot with a legitimate question regarding the course curriculum to deal with this?
No, sir. You will stop speaking. You will stop speaking. You're full of crap, and that's the nicest thing that I can say.
That would be her response. Mrs. Lightfoot, can I ask you a question about your time running as mayor of Chicago? And then
yeah, I don't have a. I jumped out of the brand because I was looking at the comments, but we know what she'd say.
I'm clicking on tab.
We never miss an opportunity to.
Sir.
You will stop speaking. All right, so a rare opportunity. So here's where this gets. Okay, let me finish this next quote. As mayor, she showed strong leadership in advocating for health, equity, and dignity for every resident in Chicago, from her declaration of structural racism as a public health crisis to her innovative initiative to bring mental health services to libraries and shelters. Did she? No, she didn't. She didn't bring back the mental health clinics. Well, I guess at the end,
she opened some neighborhood things.
They brought them to the libraries instead of reopening the full clinics. Because, when you think about mental health, you think about going to a library, not an actual clinic. And of course, she led the city.
Looking for self-help books, Jerry.
And of course, she led the city through the COVID-19 pandemic, said Michelle A. Williams, Dean of Faculty at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, according to CBS News. Lightfoot celebrated the news on Twitter, writing, "I've always loved teaching, and the opportunity to get back to it is something I'm excited about." She doesn't have the gravelly voice anymore because she's not yelling at reporters. "Looking forward to sharing the experiences and perceptions I learned governing through one of the most challenging times in American history with the Harvard Chan SPH community." Former New York Mayor Bill de Blasio and former Boston Mayor Kim Janey have both served as Menschel Fellows. So there was also a link in our show notes. Let's run the video on this. Can you bring that one up, Ed? Just so I don't have to, because we've got so many challenges with this goddamn New York Post website.
Lori Lightfoot has a new job. She'll be teaching at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Lightfoot was appointed to teach a course titled Health Policy and Leadership next fall. That course will dive into her administration's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is part of the school's Menschel Senior Leadership Fellowship, which brings in leaders to share their experiences with students.
All right, so a lot of people would say, well, she led Chicago. Every mayor led their cities based on the federal guidelines, support, and requirements to handle this public health crisis. She wasn't special.
She was a soldier.
This is
He was a loyal foot soldier of the Democratic Party dealing with this crisis.
As every other loyal foot soldier did. But you know why they're going to elevate her is because she's a lesbian woman of color. That's why. It's not from merit, because every mayor basically, I would say the majority of mayors handled it the same way, and leaders and governors and everybody else. So, look, like Rahm Emanuel, they've got their golden parachutes. They've got their safety nets after they fail and let people down. Because they are those loyal foot soldiers, they're always going to fail upwards. Speaking of failing upwards, it's not a perfect transition, but so now after purchasing Arlington Park and I guess beginning the initial stages of demolition, it's not good enough for the Bears. Now they want to look at Naperville. Let's bring this up. These fucking McCaskies, these fucking Bears, as reported by Gregory Pratt on Twitter, the Chicago Bears are now floating the possibility of building a stadium in Naperville. Naperville! Oh my God! Naperville.
Sure they are. Sure they are.
Yeah, right. More bluffing and negotiations to get the best deal that they can, because they just can't afford to build anything on their own. Arlington Heights is no longer our singular focus, the team says. Fact is, they made a big, expensive land purchase and have a tough road ahead to make the finances work. Well, let's look at it this is what I was reviewing, Ed. When Soldier Field as it wasn't good enough for them, they got the city to pay to make it look like the UFO at the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
Right? And we're still paying for it. That is actual tax dollars is paying for that because the McCaskies want to bail out of there. So they set their sights on Arlington Racetrack, buy the land, start tearing down what you could argue is a historic stadium. Whether it's used for horse racing or not anymore, it's still got some historical significance. They're starting to begin demolition on that, but that's not good enough for them. Now, I guess based on however Arlington Heights is reconsidering what concessions they want to give the Bears, now they're going to look to Naperville.
Yeah, that's all it is it's Arlington Heights is giving them resistance to all the money they think that they deserve to have for providing the honor of having their team in your city.
That they're entitled to. So I love some of the comments in this Twitter thread. So they're like everyone else from Naperville, pretending they're Chicago, but not really Chicago. Got it.
Yeah.
They are a poor representation of Chicago. Now, not the Bears team. We're talking about Bears ownership. Okay. If you were honest, you'd report that the Cook County Assessor's Office decided to play politics and not data-driven finance with their tax bill. The Bears are privately funding the development for an alternative C, the A's in Nevada right now. If I was governor of Indiana, I would be calling the Bears with an enticing offer. If the Bears aren't in Chicago proper, there's no reason the Bears can't be in Hammond, Indiana versus Naperville. I don't give a shit where they. Why are we bending?
Let them go.
Let them go. Why are we bending over to satisfy these billionaires who can afford to go build their own fucking stadium from the ground up? They can afford to buy the property in Arlington Heights. That's what no longer good enough for them. So Pratt reported on that, and there's one other Twitter link in our show notes. Let me read from that if you can bring that one up. I got to remind myself where that one went. Oh yeah, here we go. The Bears president and CEO Kevin Warner met with the mayor of Naperville today. The discussion was about a possible stadium development in Naperville and abandoning the Arlington site. After all this drama for the past 2 years, they want to abandon the Arlington site, or they're thinking about it. Someone says in this thread, yeah, they're not a fan of playing both ends against the middle, which is essentially what they're doing. He also remarks, but Chicago Bears have never been good business people ever. Well, maybe not. I mean, they seem to have everybody trying to cater to them. What else is going on in this thread? Going from Arlington Heights to Naperville would quite possibly be the biggest downgrade in history. Can someone explain why playing out of an upgraded Soldier Field isn't the first option? Especially if you're carrying the name Chicago Bears, not Arlington Heights Bears or Naperville Bears.
It's always about the money. They don't want to spend any of their money. They don't want to cut into their own profits. They want Chicago to keep shoveling money their way for upgrades or whatever they want. And clearly the city is like, look, we're not doing any more of this. You guys are raking in the dough over there. You guys should be paying us.
Ask me about the McCaskies, Ed.
What about the McCaskies?
Fuck the McCaskies. Thank you, Harrison.
Yeah, this is what I have to say to the McCaskies.
Light your torches and go!
Just the part where it says take your torches and go.
Yeah. Art says they're from Chicago, like an hour away from Chicago. Okay, so let's get the meat of this from the Chicago Tribune. I'm sorry, the Naperville Sun.
Naperville Sun.
As reported by Suzanne Baker and Robert McCopen. Chicago Bears here plan to build a stadium in Naperville. Arlington Heights is no longer our singular focus, the team says. They say that. And there's the why don't you cycle through those slides, Ed?
I don't know if I can from an archive, but I'll try.
Yeah, it's not
it won't.
All right. Well, there you see one of the demolition vehicles ready to start tearing down Arlington Racetrack. Chicago Bears officials met with Naperville Mayor Scott Wehrle Friday morning to discuss the possibility. Let's keep it on the picture.
I'll just leave it on the
picture. Yeah, I don't like scrolling when people need to see something, not words, since I'm reading the same shit. Thank you. So they met with Mayor Scott Wehrle Friday morning to discuss the possibility of abandoning their plans for a new stadium development in Arlington Heights in favor of building in Naperville. Plans to build the largest single development project in Illinois history are at risk in Arlington Heights, the Bears said in a statement they released Friday in conjunction with their meeting. The balls of these people. I was going to say the gall, but no, the big gonads that they're swinging around like they have a right. They're so entitled to this. They feel that they're so entitled to this. They gravely overestimate, I think, their value or perhaps the patience of the taxpayers in these different communities, I think. But the Cook County Assessor's property assessment of the former horse track, which is 5 times the 2021, that's what it is. They got to pay more taxes. They got to pay more in taxes. The Cook County Assessor's property assessment of the former horse track, which is 5 times the 2021 tax value and 3 times higher than the recent assessment settlement for the Churchill Downs racetrack in Kentucky, fails to reflect that the property is not operational and not commercially viable in its current state, the statement said. We will continue the ongoing demolition activity work towards a path forward in Arlington Heights, but it is no longer our singular focus, team officials wrote. So fuck the stadium, tear it down, but if it doesn't work out for you, you've torn down the stadium and left a giant crater there to go somewhere else unless you get what you want with the tax assessment that you claim you can't afford.
So if anybody had wanted to resuscitate that as a new horse race track, they can't now.
Fuck the McCaskies. I like Grumpy Harrison Ford. Team officials wrote, it is our responsibility to listen to other municipalities in Chicagoland about potential locations that can deliver on this transformational opportunity for our fans, our club, and the state of Illinois, while turning their back on Soldier Field and the fans in the city. They can't afford to go anyway, right? I mean, sports tickets for every ticket prices for music, concerts, sports events, it's insane. You can't take. My dad used to take me and my brother to Comiskey Park when we were 12, and Bill Veck had these special family days. You could afford to take your kids there. You can't unless you're in the 1%, or your family, or you work for a hedge fund or the banking industry or real estate. You can't afford to go to a Bears game or a concert like Taylor Swift this weekend. I heard tickets $1,000 or more for that. Sorry, no. Although the Bears have purchased, you can, pay someone to dress up like Taylor Swift for $1,000 and have a much better time. although the Bears have purchased the Arlington Heights site and sing for you too in the bargain for an hour. Although the Bears have purchased the Arlington Heights site, the organization maintains plans to build an enclosed stadium with accompanying entertainment and residential development is not a done deal. There remains outstanding questions on the team getting certainty on property tax limits and public subsidies to help infrastructure for the project.
Gee, I'd like to get some certainty on property tax limits.
This is what they pulled on Chicago. And when Chicago didn't budge, they went to Arlington Heights. And now that Arlington Heights is like, this might not be the sweet deal we think because of everything they want us to give them. Now they're going to play games with Naperville. Those uncertainties led Naperville mayor to send a May 24th. And can Naperville really afford this? Can they? Or maybe they're friends with the mayor of Naperville or had some emissaries ask the mayor of Naperville to present these overtures. To send a May 24th letter to Bears president and CEO Kevin Warren, in which he acknowledged the team's commitment to developing and operating its own stadium, which is essential for on-field success and pursuing championships. No, it's not. It's a vanity project. Fuck you. Go develop your team and play it social. I would like to formally introduce our community to your organization as you consider or reassess your planned relocation, wrote the new Naperville mayor, who was elected this spring and took office a month ago. I'd say this new mayor is a little in over his head, swimming with the sharks in the McCaskey aquarium. Wearily told Warren several available or to be available sites may fit the characteristics the organization is looking for in a future home. Where those locations are has not been disclosed. It's in his imagination. But one site large enough for such a development is the former BP campus property on Washington Street and Deal Road, located along the Interstate 88 corridor. It would easily be accessible from I-88's Naperville Road. And
Naperville.
Do you know how fucking far out that is for people from Chicago to drive to see a game? And it's not near.
Yeah,
it's not near a railway. Like
it's not even close for a lot of people in the suburbs either.
It's not. There's no metro going out to Naperville that's is easily access this unless. What? Maybe they'll build a spur to get to it?
You just have to get the I-88.
Arlington Heights Mayor Tom Hayes said he understands that the Bears are a for-profit business and have to pursue all opportunities. Well, good. Now he's playing hardball with them. I would be doing the same thing, explore all my options and pick the best one. He said, I still think Arlington Heights is the best option. Me thinks that Arlington Heights Mayor is getting a little bit sick and tired of the McCaskies and the Bears and all the demands of Bears representative CEO Kevin Warren. That's what me thinks.
Hey, Kira.
Hey, Kira. Kira's got 3.5 weeks away.
Away from what, Jerry?
A new Kira and Mark. A new addition to the Elliott family.
I see. So Jigglypuff 2 Electric Kiraloo?
Kiraloo, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't see you jump in the chat, Kira. So you mentioned before I saw the 3.5 weeks. Do you think Arlington Heights will try to negotiate now that they're looking for another? I don't know, Kira. I think the mayor of Arlington Heights has kind of had it up to here with them. And I would too, especially given the fact that they bought this property. They're starting demolition on the park. And as Ed mentioned earlier, it could be repurposed as another sports venue, but they're not going to have anything there after the Bears tear it all down and then what? Maybe decide we changed our minds. And if Bears are like a wrecking crew.
Well, and if McCaskies are looking for tax breaks, then they would basically they would have to talk to the Cook County assessor, or they would have to get pressure from Arlington Heights or Naperville or whoever on the Cook County assessor to say, hey, look, we want to give these people tax breaks. And then, of course, Fritz will probably say no because he's not giving anybody tax breaks right now.
Right. Yeah. The article goes on to say the team is unlikely to find such a prime property as the former Arlington Park, Hayes said, with 326 mostly open acres next to major roadways and with its own the commuter train the commuter train was a big part of this deal station. And the Bears already own the land. We own the land. Yeah. We're tearing down the stadium, but we're going to look elsewhere because we don't get the tax. How is that good business?
It's not.
What it shows, though, Ed, is they've got money to burn.
Yeah.
In buying that land.
Yeah. more than anything, it shows us that they already have too much money.
The mayor encouraged the school districts and the team to continue negotiations over property taxes with the requirement that any deal would be a long-term economic boost for the team. Blah, blah. Blah, 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 says Grumpy Harrison Ford. Look, this is what they're doing. It's odious. It's, tearing down the stadium and then playing like they're going to go somewhere else. It's just all performative horseshit. And it should annoy everybody. Yeah. They have no interest in representing Chicago. They only have interest in representing the McCaskey family's interests and how they can get more money from municipalities to add to the fucking bank vault of money that they're already hoarding.
Yep.
So, as I teased earlier in the show, when we were talking about the Humboldt Park Nazi, and as Harrison Ford likes to say, Nazis. I hate these guys. Look, I'm not anti-bike, and I explained my reasons last program. I bike. I rarely bike, but when I do, I'm very cognizant of the fact that the streets were designed for motorized vehicles. And I try to bike when a lot of those motorized vehicles are not on the streets because I don't feel I'm entitled to the roadways, as a lot of other people do. Okay? So, and this just kind of perfectly paints the picture of that perspective I was referencing when I was talking about the militant bike people. I saw this. This is not a parody account, guys, on Twitter. The Twitter account is called Driving is a Sin. And the tweets are primarily about just completely vilifying and demonizing motorist cars and literally calling for the abolition of motorized vehicles on streets that we rely on for transportation that are already congested because of the way that they've added bike lanes without really considering, well, maybe there are some places we could put bike lanes, not everywhere, and also figure out how to repurpose long stretches of sidewalks that aren't used by pedestrians in vacant areas. Instead, they narrow the roadways, add to the congestion, which is also complicated by all the construction. It's not anti-bike, everybody. My issue is efficiency. And as I found this Twitter, I'm calling it, these are the bike Nazis.
Okay, well then, hold on then, Jerry, because we got to do this first then.
Okay.
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
Nazis, I hate these guys. Only because I didn't have my Blues Brothers shades to do the Blues Brothers quote. But all right, so just a sampling of this guy's tweets. Here's one that's imagine seeing this picture and thinking, as long as these are electric, we're good. What's the problem, man? Are we supposed to all be walking or bicycling everywhere with our families with us? It's not ideal, but do you understand what the point of traffic and transportation infrastructure on roads that were designed for motorized vehicles is about?
Yeah, I guess it's just they're very simplistic in the comment here because it doesn't take into, I mean, it's a fair comment to talk about how adding more roads or more lanes would just, is not going to make traffic better. It's just going to put more cars on the road. And so I understand that perspective. But at the same time, to think that no cars or no forms of transportation to bring, to let people travel like more than one person on a bike should exist, it's a little short-sighted.
Drivers deserve to be afraid of pedestrians is another one of it. And the account is called Driving is a Sin. And it's not a parody account. This guy's icon, he looks like Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. And I wonder if he realizes he's just as idiotic as Ned Flanders from The Simpsons.
It actually looks like a cop, one of those stereotypical mustache cop type things, which is kind of irony. But you look in the bio and it says non-governmental, nonprofit organization. Are they really? Or are they just saying they are?
Here's another tweet. A car buzzed behind with a big acceleration today, only to stop in 100 yards, and I passed them on my bike. As my friend Segway Batman says, with great power comes the temptation to use it. Drivers literally cannot help themselves. There is no reasoning with them. Really? Really? This is just a mindset of absolute complete entitlement and disregard for what you just mentioned, Ed, the needs of people to travel together in multi-passenger vehicles safely. Okay, I'm not advocating, drivers should speed and ignore bikers. Yeah. I'm just talking about the fact that I think with the introduction of Divvy in the city and Rahm Emanuel's urge to patronize and satisfy bicyclists with the Divvy bikes, which the city made a lot of money off of, right? City made a lot of money off of that deal with Divvy, which meant that I think a lot of the infrastructure wasn't just to satisfy bicyclists. It was Rahm Emanuel deciding, fuck it, the city can make more money at the expense of it doesn't matter how much it's going to congest traffic everywhere. If we don't efficiently think through where should we put bike lanes and where should we create a set of rules by which bicyclists can safely and with rules of the sidewalks as we have for rules of the roads, determine when they can veer onto a sidewalk and have some rules there where there aren't pedestrians. Because I don't see pedestrians. Well, actually, I do see some social media tweets where pedestrians think they should also have entire streets and roads closed down now just for them to walk.
Yeah. I mean, crazy. We're going to have accounts like this showing up and, where they're very slanted or very generalizing in the comments they make based on a handful of incidents that they encounter. And I'm like, the general consensus I think everybody can have is that we want safer roads for everybody.
Yes. Drivers and bicyclists. But yeah, when you're only suddenly starting to lean towards satisfying the needs of the bicyclists, you're not making it safe or efficient for motorists. And you're actually, I would say, making it more dangerous for the bicyclists because you're continuing to put them in the path of motorized vehicles, acting like they can balance against each other when the streets were not designed for bicycles.
No, actually, Jerry, the streets were designed for rail cars.
Yeah.
Rail cars.
Yeah.
You look back in the history of Chicago, and especially if you see them starting to tear up some of the streets, you'll start to see tracks that are covered over, like tracks and rows of bricks in a lot of places, especially like Roosevelt Road and places like that, because there used to be rail car lines throughout the entire city. We had a huge public transportation network in here that no longer exists. And some of those got upgraded to, what do they call them? The electric lines, where they travel by wire. And then those got obsoleted. And then we ended up with our CTA buses, which.
Yeah, the electric buses with the those rods that looked like the back of the DeLorean that were like connected to the electric lines. Yeah. They called them the Green Hornets because the buses were green and it was just like a nickname. They called them the Green Hornets.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy how Chicago went backwards as far as public transportation goes, because we used to have a system that worked a lot better than the one that works now. Hopefully they'll be able to do a U-turn and actually get us into public transportation we can be proud of and be able to rely on, because that's part of the problem too, is that if we had more reliable public transportation that went more places, you'd have less congestion on the roads because you'd have less people needing to rely on cars.
Didn't that? I think that this was, I know it was, I just don't remember the specifics, but this was the underlying plot to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Remember, it had to do with putting a freeway through Toontown because there was more money to be made instead of like continue building the rail trolley lines.
It is similar, yeah.
Funny comedy animation, but it was actually like dealing with this public infrastructure issue. That was basically like the MacGuffin driving the comedy and the animation and the entertainment. But it was basically based on what happened in California when the rail lines were replaced and pulled out in favor of roadways for cars and other motorized vehicles. Now, here's another tweet. I will say it again. We did not choose the war on cars. Our leaders chose it for us. And he cites 2023 is unfortunately shaping up to be the deadliest year in recent history. Traffic crashes have killed 59 people so far this year, beating the previous record of 56 people killed this day in 2022. Things are looking bleak. Chicago's mayor, Chicago Department of Transportation. Yeah, that's tragic. But what do you want them to do? Take more cars off the street or close down more roads so that bicyclists can just... And, there's the other thing, Ed. Who's paying for the roads? License fees, stickers, city stickers. Bicyclists don't have to pay for a goddamn thing, and they don't pay, and they're not cited, or they don't have to follow the rules of the road. Everything revolves around them zipping in and out of everywhere. They're supposed to, but are they ever cited? Are they ever? They're not.
Hard to know. I'm not a bicycle cop, right? So, we can only guess as to what the future is going to be for bicyclists and motorists going forward, because at some point we're going to have to figure out a way to get along and to make things work so that we're not becoming an obstacle to each other while we try to commute to the places we need to get to.
Check out the balls on this tweet. And still drivers don't pay their fair share. Let's decrease our overall road miles and width, increase city sticker fees by weight and length, require safety standards for people outside the vehicle, remove single-family zoning and minimum parking requirements. In regards to the gasoline tax, he says they don't pay their fair share. Bicyclists don't pay anything. Anything.
Yeah. Are you paying for a license to ride your bike through the city? Are you paying to help for road maintenance and for maintaining the bike lanes?
I called it, Ed. They're the bike Nazis. And you know how I am.
So let's, you want to complain about some of the inequities and some of the problems with motorists, fine. But also, look in the mirror once in a while and realize that you're part of the problem.
Oh, I'm so happy I can share the screen and not have to bug or rely on Ed for everything that I'm loading to read from. Now,
don't jinx it.
I'm not. No. I think we're on good track today. Now that I figured out, just don't start Chrome and everything will be fine. So, updates. We have some interesting news from the world of Alderman Voldemort, Jim Gardner. The People's Fabric reports. We have some more details from the recently unsealed FBI affidavits and warrant or do you say affidavits? I say affidavits. Do you say affidavits?
Sabotage.
Sabotage. You say sabotage. I say sabotage. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's my.
You and Jim Kirk.
I'm not doing too bad with my impressions, am I?
No.
I can do a good Kirk. I can do a very good William Shatner.
Your Shatner's okay. Your Harrison Ford's really good.
Shatner's just okay. I share the same birthday with the man. How could I just be okay?
Okay, maybe I just got to listen to it a few more times to decide if it's like excellent.
It's all in the cadence of talking like William Shatner.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Yeah, sometimes I kind of fall off the cadence, but anyway, Jim Gardner. It's TikTok.
Big time.
Somebody
posted a photo of his office. His what do you call it? His alderman office.
Oh, I'm going to get to that. Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
I'll get.
You saw that? Okay.
Oh, I saw it. All right. So, I'll keep.
You did see that? Okay.
Yeah, it's in the show notes. We'll get to it. That's going to be. You don't give away the payoff to the story. Now,
I haven't done anything.
Nothing.
You can't prove it.
You know nothing. You see nothing. You say nothing. Chicago Sun-Time. All right. This comes from John Siedel, Chicago Sun-Times. FBI. Gardner got developer who'd been good to me. Ticket to Lightfoot reform inaugural and suspected bribery scheme. Who would have thunk?
Most of us.
I mean, just look at the guy. Alderman Jim Gardner has not been charged with any criminal wrongdoing as a result of the Fed's investigation. Jerry Vasilatos editorializes. Yet, FBI affidavits show the Fed spent a year struggling to view thousands of text messages 4 years ago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot got a standing ovation during her inaugural address when she lectured members of the new Chicago City Council about profiting from their office. Reform is here, she declared. It turns out a ticket to hear Lightfoot's scolding might have become part of a lengthy FBI bribery investigation into one of the council members on the stage that day, Alderman Jim Gardner, Voldemort Jim Gardner of the 45th. According to Aldermort, I'm sorry, Aldermort, that's right. I'm not, see, that's a franchise I really haven't had any, I've not watched any of the Harry Potter movies, so that's my wheelhouse.
I've been lax in my graphics duties. I didn't get us an Aldermort overlay put together yet, but I think if we're going to keep covering his possible FBI indictment, we probably should put one on there. His
what I predict is going to be his astonishing, magnificent free fall.
It's going to be interesting to see who he tries to throw under the bus when that finally happens.
Yeah. According to court records, Gardner provided a developer with a floor ticket to the event, and investigators took that as a sign that Gardner felt indebted to that developer. Floor ticket, Gardner is said to have boasted in a text message. That's according to a series of FBI affidavits recently unsealed in redacted form that also suggests that the investigation of Gardner was stymied by agents' inability to view the vast majority of 4,000 text messages. That's a lot of text messages. That's a lot of evidence if they can get their eyes on them. The affidavits show they spent a year struggling to view the messages. Gardner has not been charged with any crime as a result of the investigation, which dates back more than 3 years. He was reelected this year, unlike Lightfoot, who left office earlier this month. Gardner's staff declined to comment. The affidavits show that even at a moment that seemed to signal a new day in Chicago politics, another potential scandal brewed in the background. The Chicago Tribune reported earlier this month on one of the affidavits filed in July of 2020, though heavily redacted, the records indicate authorities were looking into whether Gardner took a $5,000 bribe from a developer to stall the point at Six Corners. Authorities had developed a cooperating source in March of 2020, records said. The July
wait, hold on, Jerry. How much was that?
$5,000.
$1 million.
No.
Wasn't a million. However,
5,000.
$5,000.
That's a lot of money.
It's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
The July 2020 affidavit sought a judge's permission to search an Apple iCloud account and seize text messages sent between February of 2019 and July of 2020. I don't want to imagine what else they might find in Jim Gardner's iCloud account, maybe in his photo album.
Yeah.
Didn't pay me enough for that to go through that. The iCloud account was described as being used by a private Chicago businessman, other affidavits show. Those affidavits describe in part what happened next. Apple produced the information sought by authorities in an encrypted format in August of 2020. That data was first sent to the unit at FBI headquarters to be decrypted, then sent back to the Chicago FBI office, and then the FBI's Regional Computer Forensics Laboratory to be analyzed and formatted. That process was completed in mid-October of 2020, so that's quite some time ago. The analysis found that someone used that iCloud account to send or receive about 4,000 messages between. If he has nothing to hide, why doesn't he just give him? We know he has some shit to hide. That's why it's so difficult for them. Anyway, agents spent the next 8 months trying to determine why the messages could not be viewed. A prosecutor consulted with the Justice Department's Computer Crimes and Intellectual Property section, and investigators tried giving the original encrypted data to the Regional Computer Forensics Laboratory. This is what do they call this? This is when you're interfering with the investigation of a collusion or
obstruction of justice.
It's obstruction of justice. Thank you, Ed. That's what this is.
You know what it also is, Jerry?
Yeah.
Hinky. What does that mean, Vince? Hinky.
Oh, strange.
Weird. Well, don't you say strange or weird? I mean, hinky, that has no meaning.
Well, we say hinky.
I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
Good segue, Ed. Look, I don't have to go any more into that Sun-Times article to express what Federal Marshal Samuel Girard and his deputies talked about there on how hinky this is. However, I think that this is a sign of things to come. also shared by the People's Fabric. This is Alderman Gardner's office, his ward office. It's for lease. From the You Cannot Make This Up files, this is a real shot of the 45th Ward office today, as reported June 2nd. Context: recent court records detail the FBI's investigation into alleged bribes paid to Alderman Jim Gardner. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Aldermort.
Yeah. So
Who
if he's
intimidates his people in his ward. Sorry, Ed.
So if he's putting his alderman office up for lease, does he know something that we don't know?
He just won re-election, or unless, I mean, what other?
Unless he's moving his office.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The timing seems a little hinky. Okay.
Yeah.
In other story updates, actually, can you bring this up? That way I can scroll it on my end and read from it. This is just an update. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds on it, but we reported on this before. The CHA is open for business, and it appears that the deal to lease the public housing land to Chicago Fire soccer team violated civil rights. It violated a lot of things. But there's a group that filed a lawsuit alleging local and federal housing officials didn't conduct a proper civil rights review ahead of the controversial deal. Mac Liederman, Block Club Chicago, always one of the best sources of objective reporting. Coalition of community groups has filed a federal lawsuit over a deal to turn public housing land into a professional soccer training facility. Because, that's what CHA land is for, to give to billionaires who own soccer teams, not even to put up a fucking stadium, but to put up a training facility. Oh, this just grinds my gears. The lawsuit against the CHA, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Housing and Urban Development Secretary Marcia Fudge, alleges the sale of about 23 acres of land on the near west side, which had long been promised for new housing, instead went for the soccer facility without a transparent process or adherence to civil rights laws. Remember, during Lori Lightfoot's administration. And do you see her breaking ground there?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You will stop speaking. You will stop speaking. You're full of crap. And that's the nicest thing that I can say.
Breaking ground, breaking wind. That's all she was good for.
Yeah. Lori, there's a photo. We can see you doing it.
Oh, she was all for this deal. Yeah. Plus, remember, the guy who owns this Chicago Fire soccer team was a big donor to Lori Lightfoot's re-election campaign.
Yeah, wasn't like $25,000 or something.
Yeah,
I could check the what's it called? Illinois Sunshine.
Illinois Sunshine. Really quickly, the lawsuit alleged this is going to be a developing story, but this is what's happening right now. The lawsuit alleges that the CHA and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development skipped necessary steps for a civil rights review, a process that determines whether the sale is non-discriminatory and complies with fair housing and civil rights laws. Instead, the city and federal agencies wanted to rush to close this deal before Mayor Lori Lightfoot was out of office, according to the lawsuit. It's a long article linked in the show notes. You can go read it, but that's the update on that story.
Oh, you're going to love this, Jerry.
What did you find?
Okay. Joe Mansueto. Look at how much he gave to Vallis. $250,000.
He wanted to make sure when he thought Vallis was going to win that none of this was going to get derailed or investigated or drawn back. But party's over. There's a new sheriff. There is a new sheriff in town.
And clearly he's a fan of getting tax breaks too, because look, he's got 3 donations to Friends for Fritz.
Wow.
This is, and we go back to 2018. Remember, he gave $200,000 to Citizens for Rauner. He gave $150,000 to Rahm Emanuel.
Oh, this guy plays all sides of the fence.
Yeah, it's like whatever he's got to do.
Look, he's hedging his bets with every possible candidate, so he knows he's going to get a quid pro quo for wherever he puts his money, no matter who it is or whoever wins. Now, on this next story, now this was a People's Fabric story. Oh, by the way, actually, before we get this story queued up, can you get the video intro ready for this, Ed? Since I'm operating different buttons.
Oh
over here?
yeah, I can.
The
do
People's
that.
Fabric Twitter, it removed the tweet regarding this, though. Are you
Really?
seeing it on your end?
Let me see.
Unless I had the wrong. Let me go to their page.
I might have the wrong number, left a number off the link or something.
I could have, and it was in the show. It was in the Slack. I have to tell everybody, while I'm busy doing shit during the week, as busy as that is, man, am I lucky to have you. We both add stories to the Slack to curate what's interesting this week. But Ed really is on the ball with sharing stuff that I may have missed, and I appreciate that he found this. Although, I'm not finding it. There's an article that we can link, but before we go into the article updating this story from the Chicago Tribune, of which I have a feeling is not going to open because I don't have the archive open. Let's see if I get lucky here.
Well, let's get Brandon off the screen.
Yeah. Okay. You can run the intro.
Alrighty then.
And also...
I look at this town, and I don't like what I see anymore.
Don't you love all the bells and whistles of this show?
I'm a huge fan.
I'm going to pop this up until Ed gets the link up with some imagery on that. Although, wait a minute. I think that I've got, you know what? I downloaded a photograph that was on People's Fabric because I was thinking about using it in our show icon. So I do have an image up, so we've got something better to look at than the, so give me a moment here. Sorry, everybody. We've got a little, not quite on the ball with this one. Here we go. I got it.
I've got one of their tweets. I don't know if this is the one you're referring to, but I put it in the private chat. Let me see if I can find another one.
I'm going to share the right screen. I got it. Let me share the screen. I've got a JPEG up that I can share. All right, everybody. This is something that we reported on previously. I think it was almost maybe a year ago. That's a police officer assaulting and detaining a kid that he claimed stole his kid's bike and who didn't. This was big in the news when we originally reported on it. Now, coming to us from Park Ridge, Carolyn Kubzanski. This is just an update story, but former Chicago cop charged with pinning Park Ridge teen to the ground last summer to stand trial on Monday. Former Chicago cop. So there was some good that came out of this. And hopefully we're not, well, you know what, isn't it interesting, Ed, how people think more cops arresting people are going to deter crime? Does prosecuting out-of-control maniac cops like this deter other cops from misbehaving? Doesn't seem to. Why wouldn't that? So why wouldn't you say that clearly maniacs like this guy who decides to assault a kid, who doesn't care about cops prior to him that assaulted people and were brought to justice or embarrassed or shamed for their misconduct, didn't stop him any more than more arrests are going to stop crime from happening. Get to the fucking root causes, people. Almost a year after he was charged for wrestling a young Park Ridge teen face down on a sidewalk in Park Ridge's Uptown area, former Chicago Police Department Sergeant Michael Vitolero will stand trial June 5th, according to court records. Vitolero faces charges of aggravated battery and 2 counts of official misconduct, according to previous reporting, and will plead not guilty to all 3 charges, despite the receipts. According to a statement from Cook County State's Attorney's Office, notice they're not referencing Kim Fox. Interesting. Maybe not intentional, but Vitolero found his son's missing bike at the scene of the incident on the sidewalk along South Northwest Highway. When the Park Ridge boy, who was then 14 years old, went to move the bike out of the way, the statement continued, Vitolero pushed the boy to the ground, held him there, and called 911. Off duty, not performing his duties. I mean, he wasn't even in Chicago. He was in Park Ridge. And clearly he just thinks he can behave this way anyway. without any evidence, without any good judgment, without any sense of using, I don't know, some calm to assess the situation instead of escalating it this way with a 14-year-old. A 45-second video of the altercation, which circulated widely on social media last summer, shows Vitellaro accusing the boy of taking his son's bike while restraining the teen flat on the sidewalk with a knee on his back, on his spinal column. They should have said his spinal column, not his back. Do you see the position of this asshole's leg on this kid's spinal column? Do you know how delicate a spinal column is?
I do, Jerry. You have no idea.
Well, tell us
how delicate. Look,
you got
care.
Yeah.
You know why I tell everybody that you need to hydrate. Drink plenty of fluids. Take care of yourselves. Get plenty of rest. You got to be very careful with your spine. Don't twist and jerk. You got to do all the stretching exercises because your spine, you could easily bust a disc. You could get something out of alignment. And then if something breaks in your spine, the rest of your body tries to compensate for that. And you get other chronic illnesses that eventually develop. You'll get arthritis. You get all kinds of problems when your body can't cope the way it normally would if your spine wasn't damaged or injured in some way. And here's this guy leaning knee right into this kid's and your brain sounds like this when he does it.
Sorry, guys. Hang on a second. Okay.
So, it's you get any kind of spinal pain, that kind of stuff. It goes, it can go right through into your brain and cause, chronic pains. It'll make it hard to concentrate. You could have all kinds of things that will impact your mobility. And this guy could be damaging this kid's spine.
14 years old. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ed. What I had a cute moment here where Oreo was lounged out, and I was trying to capture that. And of course, once the audio started echoing, he got up and walked away. So my apologies. I was trying to enhance the listening.
You have to mute your speaker before you turn his cam on, so that you don't get the. What happens is you got the speaker on your phone and the speaker in your on your computer, and they're fighting each other with the microphones.
Sorry.
This is one of those things we have to practice with when we get our additional cameras set up. But one of these days we'll have the perfect show, Jerry.
Hey, I think this one is at 90%.
Yeah, I would say so. I think we're doing pretty well.
Grumpy Harrison Ford impressions.
Yeah. So
to supplement my William Shatner, Starship Chicago Corner cadence. Anyway, who knew I was such a ham? I didn't until I had fun doing this show. Mm-hmm. All right, but yeah, everything Ed said. And there was a video regarding this altercation. Actually, I can kind of hear myself here, so I lost my Oreo moment, and I think he's done. He just wandered off. According to the statement from the state's attorney's office, Vitellaro the next day filled out forms characterizing the incident as an off-duty arrest, and the boy is a non-cooperative offender, throwing his weight around, bullying a kid who did nothing wrong after potentially and maybe the kid was injured. I can't imagine that the kid didn't come away with this with perhaps some injury, even if hopefully it wasn't long-standing. The Chicago Police Department relieved Vitellaro of his police powers the day before the Cook County State's attorneys approved charges. The family of the teenager, who is of Puerto Rican descent, has said through their attorney that they believe the incident was a case of racial profiling. You think? The incident kicked off a flurry of comments and questions, some angry from Park Ridge residents with concerns about how welcoming the city is to people of color. Well, you know what? Keep working on that. The trial is set for 9 a.m. at Skokie Courthouse. Now, this was reported May 30th, so that would be for 9 a.m. at the Skokie Court. So this was last week. We'll have to do an update on see what's up with the trial. But that's that update on that
Yeah, I found the thread that I think you were looking for.
Jerk off. Oh, you did? Okay, Leah. What's some of the commentary there?
So this is the People's Fabric thread. It says Tribune reports Chicago police officer Michael Vitellaro will stand on trial Monday. Faces aggravated battery and official misconduct charges after he falsely accused a 14-year-old of stealing his son's bike and pinned him to the ground. And there's that photo that we were showing you. And then they follow that up by saying, we think it's incorrect, though, that Vitellaro is described as a former Chicago cop in this story. While he was relieved of his police powers in August, CPD's press office tells us Copa's recommendation remains under review and he hasn't resigned.
Wow. The fucking balls on this asshole with video.
And it says
he should be I wouldn't want to show my face in public. But this guy thinks he's that important as a police officer to not only potentially risk the physical safety of a 14-year-old, but then fill out a false report and then act like he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
this is what the Fraternal Order of Police encourages, Ed.
Yeah.
The union's going to protect him. He's not accountable. None of them. Yeah. Okay. They're not all that way. The thing is, I get so pissed off about those that are. It's very, very difficult to contain my rage when you saw him assault a 14-year-old kid for doing nothing because he was racially because he's a white guy who sees a Puerto Rican kid and assumes, well, dark-skinned kid is stealing my kid's bike. And I'm going to assault the kid.
Yeah, which turns out didn't happen at all. That's not what happened. It says also we have attendance records that show him on the job through the end of 2022. Someone asks People's Fabric falsely accused the kid had his son's bike, not saying what he did was warranted, but let's state the facts. And then People's Fabric corrects him, saying, yeah, that's not actually true at all. Surveillance footage cleared the kid. Vitellaro jumped to conclusions. He was wrong. He assaulted the kid, and now he will face trial.
Well, that's the best that's coming out of this. We're getting one of the bad apples out of the department. Ultimately, he's going to be forced out. The evidence is so clear on what he did here.
This tweet says, TFW, the feeling when your favorite Disney prince is the Punisher.
That was a great show. They're bringing him back for Daredevil Reborn.
Shoe size US 7. I don't know what that means. I hope he enjoys Gen Pop. Okay.
I just saw Kira left the chat. Good night, Kira, if you're still.
Good night, Kira.
Thanks for joining us tonight. All right. So, there's some good. The good news from that is that hopefully this guy will ultimately lose his job, and we won't. And maybe that. Do you think maybe that'll provide an example though to other officers not to abuse their authority, Ed, and basically bring cops into line because they see the example of what happened to him.
They're probably not going to pay attention
any more or less than people who decide to commit crimes from abandoned communities who don't even think that they're valued or their lives are worth anything to begin with. No. Don't think there's any risk to committing crimes.
Unless it becomes a point where it has to be included in a new upgraded training session or, whatever their precinct meetings are or whatever, when they mention, look, this guy did this. You don't do this. This is not what we are going to be doing going forward.
And I'm sure that they do that already, Ed, but there are those who feel that they are so emboldened and protected by their union that it doesn't matter.
They feel like they're above the law. The Judge Dredd types.
Yeah.
I am the law.
Crime is a disease. I can't do Stallone. You ever see Cobra?
It's years.
You're a disease.
I'm the cure.
Speaking
of action movie stars, have you seen that Arnold Schwarzenegger TV series on Netflix yet? What's it called? FUBAR?
I don't have Netflix anymore, Ed.
Oh,
I did download it to watch.
Oh, okay. Well,
I watched some of the first episodes. I love Arnold.
I've seen like the first two. I'm hooked now. I'm like, this is what you use these guys for,
dude.
The fun popcorn style spy type TV series movies. It's like, yeah, I understand they use a ton of stereotypes, and it's, and in this case, it's like, all the terrible things you hate about the CIA, but still kind of fun to watch.
It's the True Lies sequel we never got.
Yeah,
and I'm sure
that's pretty much like, yeah.
Probably Cameron never wanted to do a sequel to True Lies. That's a beloved Schwarzenegger role in True Lies, and he had the relationship with really, this is the logical. This is the unofficial True Lies sequel in it as a Netflix series.
Yeah, I can see that parallel there.
And art, yes, I love The Last Action Hero. It is the perfect Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. But what I was going to mention also in regards to you're a disease and I'm the cure. Stallone has been dropping. Look, I know Stallone has an ego as big as Mount Rushmore. In the past, he's not been, from my understanding, the easiest star. The celebrity went to his head. But I got to say this, man. He's been dropping some really good nuggets of wisdom on a YouTube channel where he does selfie videos and he's sharing life wisdom, life reflections as an older guy who I think has some regrets, or maybe not regrets, but recognizes some mistakes that he made, and he's trying to pass his theories on success and motivation and not letting people who tell you what you can't do get you down. And I have a lot of respect for the fact that someone of his stature has the time and the inclination, I think actually the interest in doing that to try to help people. I actually shared one of his videos on our YouTube Chicago Corner channel, content from other, programs from other content creators. There's a little playlist there where I find inspirational videos that, if I don't share them on Twitter on our Chicago Corner feed, you can find them in the playlist on Chicago Corner. But yeah, props to Stallone and Arnold. We grew up with them, and I'm pleased to see them making some good use of their age and wisdom in ways I think Clint Eastwood has too. Although I got to say, Stallone, I think he's pushing it too much with not embracing his age in the roles he takes on. Because I thought that last Rambo and Rocky movie, the Rocky Balboa, I didn't buy it. I liked him in the Creed movies as the mentor. I just didn't buy him as the older fighter in Rocky Balboa or in Rambo. But I think Clint Eastwood is an example of how an old action star decides to embrace roles for himself that fit his age, as Harrison Ford has. And we're going to argue on that until Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny comes out. It seems like he's embracing his age as an older Indiana Jones and that's probably going to play into it. But anyway, I like how Schwarzenegger's been doing it. I mean, Schwarzenegger's been doing it with, I think, more self-effacing, kind of making fun of that whole trope of him as the action hero now doing stuff as an older guy. Anyway, end of the ditch. We're coming up on our last story, and it's 10:39, Ed. We're actually finishing early tonight, which is nice. Here's our feel-good story of the night, as shared by Professor Oreo here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've shared the story of how I find Oreo and his siblings in my back patio. He was a litter of 6 that I, along with a friend of mine, socialized. And what that means is you basically nurture the kittens so that they're comfortable, if they're feral, being around people for about 4 weeks, maybe longer if you can. And then you determine, what shelter you give them to so they can find foster homes or forever homes. It's kitten season, as reported by Block Club Chicago, and Paws needs your help finding homes for 450 cats. And let me tell you something. You couldn't find more lovable companions. I like dogs too, but they're harder for me because they need a lot of activity, running, walking. Cats are a little bit more self-sufficient. So if you can give a home to a critter, whether it's a dog or cat, we're just focusing on the cat angle though, because Paws is asking for help, as reported by Block Club Chicago. The Unconditional Love, and I got 3, including him. So anyway, summer's on and the city's cat population is surging. You can help by adopting a cat or kitten from Paws or signing up to foster animals in need. Maya McDonald reports from Block Club. And that's a picture of a quartet of kittens at Paws Chicago Medical Center at 3516 West 26th Street in Little Village on November 3rd of 2021. Paws Chicago has launched a campaign to help cats find their forever homes as kitten season brings a surge of cats to rescues across the city. Paws Summer Kitten Adoption Challenge is a campaign to find homes for 450 cats by August 31st, according to a news release. It's part of the No Kill Rescues mission to help as many animals as possible during kitten season. Warmer weather this time of year means cats are able to meet up and mate more often, leading to increases in the city's cat population. Paws CEO Susanna Wickham said that means shelters like Paws sees influxes in mother cats and their litters. Now, it's great to have ferals in your neighborhood because they do take care of the rat population. I ended up trapping and caging the adult parents of this litter that Oreo was a part of, and I took them to Paws and I got them spayed and neutered so they couldn't continue breeding more cats in the neighborhood, because we got a lot of ferals in the neighborhood, but they encourage that. So if you're able to also, perhaps, you're never going to domesticate a feral adult cat. But in this case, I was trying to reduce the population of cats in the neighborhood who might not find homes and might struggle and might have a harder time finding a forever home, unlike Oreo and his siblings. So you also have the opportunity, if you have the wherewithal, to get one of these trapping cages, put it in your alley, trap a cat, take it to get it neutered and spayed, and then release it back in the wild in your neighborhood to at least help control some of the cat population, because as you see, Paws is overwhelmed this time of year. Female cats have the ability to become pregnant every 62 days and give birth to 4 to 5 kittens per litter, according to Paws. A lot of people this time of year find litters in their garage or under their porch or in the bushes, and Animal Care and Control, which is the city pound, and then also Paws in a lot of places are just flooded with kittens, Wickham said. What we'd like to do is put the word out so that people know, if you've been thinking about adopting a pet, the time is now, because we just have the most incredible, beautiful array of the best of Mother Nature, and they need homes. With the expectation of a constant flow of cats this summer, Paws hopes to exceed its goal of 450 cat adoptions by the end of August. We've got about, wait a minute, you know what? Why didn't I put this up? There we go. We've got about 120 kittens in our population in either the adoption center or in foster or at the medical center, Wickham said. New ones arrive literally every day, so we expect to find homes for hundreds of them this summer. Paws is also using its trap neuter return program, which is what I was just describing, as a way to prevent feral cats from reproducing. Wickham said there aren't enough homes for the number of stray animals living in the city, making neutering an important tool to limit local cat reproduction, Wickham said. Paws hopes anyone interested in adopting during the campaign will adopt at least 2 cats, as kittens in particular do better developmentally when adopted out with a companion to rely on, Wickham said. I had the 2 adults that Oreo joined, Sylvester and Selena. They're like the mom and dad, and he's the little boy in the house here. It means that they have built-in playmate and a way to use up their energy, a way to learn and grow and be a happier cat, Wickham said. For people unsure about pet adoption or unable to commit to caring for an animal long-term, Paws' foster program is worth considering. People interested in adopting or fostering an animal from Paws Chicago can find more information online. If you feed a stray and want to get it fixed, find out more at their links. Don't forget the mature cats as well, Wickham said. We have cats of all ages, and sometimes the kittens are so adorable that they get a lot of attention. If somebody says, oh, I don't know if I have the energy for 2 kittens, we have plenty of mature cats from all ages all the time, and they are just as delightful. Oreo approves of this message.
Yeah, so you can head over to pawschicago.org for more information. They have a few sections on there. One of them, you can check their news and resources section and look for the latest stories, and they have information in there that looks like this. And they tell you where the adoption centers are and how to contact them in your area.
So there you have it. A truly successful, on the technical level, whoops, edition of Friday Night's Chicago Corner, everybody.
Was it successful?
Technically it was.
Yes!
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And this is how I want all shows to go. And now that I figured out the gremlins in Chrome, we won't have that problem anymore. Hopefully.
Yeah. Then the next step is to figure out how to mute your mobile device's speaker and microphone when we do the Oreo cannon.
Well, this was impromptu. I just because it was impromptu, I didn't plan for it. We'll set something up where it'll be muted and we won't have this like last minute.
Yeah.
He's up there.
But this is good practice though, because I also want to do more pizza cams when I'm baking pizzas at home on Tuesday or Friday nights.
Of course you do.
Because that was, some of you may have missed it. It's like we went on Extra Bullish show, me and Jerry, and I was baking a pizza at the time. And so I was like, you know what, Warren, I should head over and check on my pizza. And I turned on my mobile device and ran over there, and you guys got to see me pull a pizza out of the oven. It was pretty sweet. I was even impressed with the production values on that.
Ed's Pizza is delicious, guys. I mean, I have a few favorite pizza places here in Chicago. And as I've said, man, if there's a way we could figure out a way to fund Ed starting his own pizza place.
Yeah. Or just fund Ed, period.
Or fund Ed, period. But help you launch what you love doing. And we were also talking about the possibility of you figuring out a way to like do mail order pizza kits for people that want to cook at home with instructions so that they can understand. You don't always have to order out. I mean, honestly, pizza does look like an insurmountable thing because you're so used to ordering it. And as Ed has proven to me anyway, it's not that hard. It takes a little bit of time and preparation.
Yeah. The hardest part is waiting because of the time that you need to prepare certain things. The pizza dough would be the thing that takes the longest. Preheating your oven is the second longest. Putting your pizza together, that's easy. It's 15 minutes.
How long does the crust take, did you say? The dough?
You can have dough ready in like as little as an hour, but if you want to give it time to really develop some flavors and get the extra tiny little bubbles and stuff, you want to really let it hang out in your fridge for a day or two so that it can, what they call fermentation, and that's what like places like Lou Malnati's does, for their deep dish dough. They're making deep dish dough. It takes 48 hours to make their dough.
Yeah, I remember you telling me you let it ferment, which is what takes the time, the preparation of that.
Yeah, but you could do a same day rise and you'll still get some pretty decent pizza out of that.
I'm going to let Ed pimp the show because I just hate doing it. And he's got much better pipes for it and announcer's voice talking about.
Yeah, well, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the Friday edition of Chicago Corner, captained by Captain Jerry Vasilatos. And if you'd like to support this show monetarily, you can head over to patreon.com/Chicago Corner and become a Patreon. And for as little as $5, if you become a Patreon member, you even have a couple perks here. We're working on adding more, but right now, you become a Patreon supporter for $5 or more. You have the opportunity once a month to come on the show and give us your 2 cents.
And no one's taken advantage of that yet.
So if you got a working computer, a decent internet connection, and a camera,
you don't have to leave the house.
Be a Patreon supporter. Come on the show. You can talk with us. You can give us your own 2 cents on the stories that we cover. We can have conversations about stuff. We can talk about TV and movies.
Why do you think we're always engaging the live chat? Because we want to hear what you have to share and to have you participate live with us in this format. That's what Chicago Corner is all about. So thank you, Ed, for giving a much more eloquent call to arms than I could.
So so again, patreon.com/Chicago Corner. If you have the funds and can support us, we appreciate it. If you can't, share the show. Please share the show.
Also, make sure if you're already subscribed, and I know you subscribe to us and I know you like us. I was talking with my cousin John today, who said, I don't see Chicago Corner pop up in my YouTube alerts. And I said, well, he thought he was subscribed. I don't know if he got unsubscribed. I hate to think that we're dealing with this YouTube unsubscribes people. The other thing is you can click on the subscribe to get alerts that when we're going to come on so that it shows in your
there's
alerts.
There's like a ring bell. It looks like a bell on this. If you're on YouTube, it's a little bell. You can set it to notify you. But even then, it may or may not let you know. So just be aware that we are live Tuesday and Friday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central, give or take, 10 minutes. Depends, I mean, we got day jobs. We have other stuff going on in our lives, and we try to get on at 7:30. But once in a while, if we're trying to throw the show notes together last minute, or we have some breaking news where we have to update a bunch of stuff, sometimes we need a little extra time to prepare the show for you. So we appreciate when you have the patience to wait for us to come on, a few minutes late. We appreciate all of you supporting us out there. So again, please share the show. You can watch us on YouTube. We're also streaming on Rockfin and Facebook and Twitter and Jerry's LinkedIn page. So if you're friends with Jerry on LinkedIn, share the show there. Let people know we exist.
Or Facebook. And if you're not, why aren't you? You can add me as a friend.
Yeah. So we've got a page over there. We got a Chicago Corner page on Facebook. We also have a community page there as well. You're welcome to join those communities and talk to all the other people in there. I was surprised the last time I checked in to see that we have more people following us on Rockfin than we have on YouTube. But we don't often have a lot of people in the chat over there, but we appreciate it when you do. And we want to thank you all for following us and let us know how you're finding us. So you could head to ChicagoCornerTV.com. We got a little informal poll there that just kind of gives you the basics on how you're finding us. But we're going to try to put something a little more comprehensive together so we can get you guys to really let us know. But even if you just want to go on Facebook or Twitter and just tell us, just post and tell us how you found us.
There are more polls coming too. That's what she said.
So
I'm excited to know how many people are anxious, impatient for us to start our broadcast every night. They're like, where are you guys? It's like, we got to turn the machine on and pedal the bike to get the electricity going, to get everything up to speed.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes before we actually hit the start stream button. I mean, it's like, is our internet connection working tonight? Is our computer behaving?
Browser cooperating?
Do we have all the stories loaded that we need to load for the start of the show? Did anything change? Is Jerry ready? Is Ed ready? Do we have our beverages handy?
And most importantly, does our executive producer approve?
Yeah, we always gotta wait for the stream cat too, because if Oreo's not ready, we can't start the show.
I know. Who's gonna be here to step on my keyboard and basically trigger things that are not part of our plan? But
although sometimes he hits the right buttons, which is shocking to me.
Kathy's good question, Kathy.
That is a really good question. I don't know if we're able to check and see, but I could check Chicago Scanner on Twitter really quick.
Why don't you do that? Yeah, I think we need some
closure on
closure to that. Yeah,
I don't know if we're gonna get any. Maybe it sounds like they're just gonna let that guy tire himself out.
Yeah, you could be right.
Let's see.
I'm looking over here too for stuff.
It's you guys can do that at home too. You go to Twitter and just search for hashtag Chicago Scanner, and the people who are either following or reporting or adding more information or posting on that thing.
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
Well,
It's just so funny. The question is, the Nazi still on the roof? Good one, Kath.
late breaking update. Is the Nazi still on the roof? We go back to our new internet Twitter friend Gypsy Danger, who updated an hour ago. It says update. There is no update.
There's no update. I think I need to get the whip and head out there and deal with this Nazi on my own. That's what I think.
Yeah, listen, it says helicopter circling overhead, lights focused on the building, debating leaving, but then I can't come back before it's over. So Gypsy's keeping an eye on this thing.
It's like a falling down with Michael Douglas.
Okay, here's another update from 25 minutes ago. Okay. So nothing has changed since my last tweet. That's it from me for now. Gonna try and sneak out for some dinner. Might have found a way to watch from far, but that's to be determined. So thank you, Gypsy, for providing some really great entertainment for us tonight. Sounds like
some important coverage here.
Yeah,
you've got somebody there asking.
They want to know if she was able to walk her dog.
Help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope. Well, when it comes to the city of Chicago and enforcement,
you will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
It's a great line. The Humboldt Park Nazi. Yeah.
I think there's a movie in this, man. But in all seriousness, man, why are they coddling? How do you threw tear gas in? He's up. I guess maybe they're waiting for him to come out again with a flamethrower or start shooting off the rooftop. Maybe then they'll have a helicopter come in and drop like one of those steel nets on top of him and haul him away like a true action movie finale.
It's just really odd that they haven't apprehended this guy yet or held him over for a psych or anything.
Yeah. Well, Ed, as always, thank you for tonight. Please, ladies and gentlemen, remember that story with pause as, am I pointing the right way? No. As Oreo. No. There we go. Encourages you to see if you can adopt or foster for a little while. And we will be back again next Tuesday, where Ed will captain the good ship Chicago Corner. In the meantime, as we go into the weekend, as always, please make sure to watch out for each other. Stay safe. Take care of each other. Be vigilant. Should I be doing Harrison Ford? No, I should do Batman for that. Be vigilant. And remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll always hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Please stay safe, Chicago.
Get out of here, you dago bastard! Go on, get your ass out of here!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.